And here we are on Patron Hangout number 9. This is our chance to talk to all of our wonderful patrons who want to join us and ask us questions, bother us, find out anything they want to find out about us, be it about the show, be it about us, be it about the game, our opinions, etc. And starting a new habit, once every couple months, we have got some of the guys from the Metal Lab joining us. Unfortunately, Tom couldn't be part of the show this week, but we do have Mike.
What
Mike
up?
Payne, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
To add his answers to this.
And his pickles.
And his deep fried pickles. I just, of course, want to mention to everybody that because it's a Patron Hangout, language is not controlled here. We are allowed to, and they are allowed to swear as much as they want. So if you do have an issue with potty mouths, I'm warning you now. I might use some. These guys might use some. Whatever. So you have been warned.
Come on.
As well, if you do want to join in on this, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Any patron level gets you in on the show. You just have to make sure that things don't bounce back on you. To get things started off, Mike, you're first in the show. You get to be the first with the question.
All right. Hey, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about the OP kit from the Brave and the Bold. And I was able to acquire the Green Lantern one, and but I noticed it's just a recast of the one from the Warlight package back then. It's got that little slot where it's supposed to be the things on there like that. Now, can we still use that to put stuff in there, or does it have to stay specifically on the card, or does using that using a construct automatically make it a not modern age?
We still have a month for the constructs retire. They did do it with some of the White Lanterns. They gave them the construct trait, but essentially if it's not a power on their card, they can't do it. It's a lot to do with the fact that they just reused the sculpt. Everything about it was just redone. Like, basically they just put a new dial. I'm sure they had the mold hanging around and just made more of it if they didn't already just have the figures themselves extra, and that's what we're seeing a lot with these OP kits. Is that we're just going to see a repaint of 2 and with different dials, and then one that's going to be brand new out of the 3 figures. So that's pretty much why it's designed like that. But from a gameplay standpoint, if it doesn't have the trait, then you're not going to be able to bring in the construct.
Mm-hmm.
That whole construct thing is part of the trait. Even the Martian Manhunter had a little slot in his rock, and it looked like they were thinking to themselves, "Yeah, we should add that construct trait," and then change their minds at the last second.
You're a little slot.
I am.
But we know with the OPs in general, there's 2 recycled sculpts and then there's 1 original sculpt. Like, for instance, here's the new Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm a little disappointed with the sculpt. I think it's kind of boring, but it is the new one at least. And then I've got the other 2 here. We've got a recycled Gamora right there, and the last but not least, we've got a recycled Drax as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically the same figures we've seen before, just
Different dials.
Different dials.
And they're all underwhelming in comparison to the new Kitty Pryde Prime with the Guardians of the Galaxy keyword.
Well, she is a problem after all.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I'll give you that.
All right. So, Chris, you're up next.
Okay. Well, I didn't really have a whole lot of questions. So I could just mention my pre-release that I had, and I pulled 2 rares. I had my first pre-release, and my first opponent was Easton Brock. That's my first chance playing against him. It's just he's very professional, and it was a good.
Easton.
It was very courteous and professional, I should say. We both pulled Juggernauts, so it was kind of a, hey, I'm gonna smash through here and try to hit a 8, and you're gonna smash through here and try to hit an 8. And in the end, I'd say he outplayed me. I did, and he got some good rolls. I got some good rolls, but just the experience of playing against him was fun. So shouts out to him and the whole group, his whole team, and also got to play Michael Smith in my final match, and. I think he actually pulled a couple super rares. He did have Malice, but not a spectacular team, considering that I pulled Juggernaut. Juggernaut, he's a pretty fantastic. He's 4 sealed, I feel. But anyway, he's a great opponent. He has a very unique play style, and shouts out to him, and also Wesley Summers and his crew. And, I look forward to playing you, Mike, one day. And maybe next time it comes around to me, I'll have an actual question. But, yeah, that's about it. My second pre-release, like I told you guys earlier, I pulled Chase Sugarman in one booster, Malice in the other booster, and the Iceman rare that can put a free action barrier out. So I kind of felt like I was cheating the whole game. And then except my last match was against Justin Piercy, who is just a phenomenal player. And he also had Sunfire Prime. And with that running shot, Pulse Wave, Poison, Energy Explosion, and I'm sorry, traded Energy Shield Deflection. Did I leave out anything?
And his feedback damage too.
I think he was being nice. He didn't use that against me. No, but anyway, he's a great guy too. So I don't know. It was just a lot of fun. Couple of pre-releases, and man, I hope you guys had as much fun as I did, and I hope you had as good as fools. And we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well. To add on to the storytelling of pre-releases, our own pre-release, I only got to attend one, which was the one that we ran at Comic Warehouse. I was judging, so what I pulled didn't ultimately matter. But I did pull a Chase Colossus. I think my drought of my sealed drought of like no chases, no super rares that was going on for a long time is now long gone, long past me. So I'm kind of happy to see that going on. I definitely got a good work. Because with the game space that we have at the Comic Warehouse, we had about 30 people in attendance. We were able to fit 20 downstairs. We had to move another 8 or 10 upstairs. So I got to basically run a Stairmaster up and down the stairs, checking between the 2 rooms, because we didn't think we'd have so many people, and ended up having to double judge a couple rooms. I know in the tops we had a couple of big point figures, but second place only, I think his highest rarity figure was a rare himself. It was a Sabretooth. Yeah. And the first place was a Phoenix Prime, but it's one of those situations is like you gave a bazooka to a sniper, so yeah, I mean, this is Jay Sullivan, you guys know from the show, so he ended up winning that, and if you give...
He beat me in the final round.
In the final round, Amber was playing with a Proteus, so there were a couple big point figures, but when it comes to the draft itself is its own unique monster, and I keep trying to inform people, like, don't take it too seriously, even though the prizes they give you are very, very, specific to the pre-release. It's basically a lottery draw where you walk in and it's like, hey, I got a set of figures that's going to do well. All right, I got it. Right? You can, like, with a draft, you can definitely tell who's going to win, especially in some of the sets that we've already had with pre-releases, like Superman, Wonder Woman. There's a couple figures where it's like, yeah, that guy and that guy are going to have to duke it out because that's where the decider is. And then there'll be another,
Who ended in our World's Finest was... I went 3-0 with a Spectre, but I came in third.
Yeah, I went 3-0 with a... I didn't get a Chase, but I got a... I can't remember. No, I didn't go 3-0 with that because I was judging. I was at 401 that I went 3-0 with a Mary Marvel on that one. But Mary Marvel is just really good.
Yeah, Mary Marvel is really good.
Yeah.
Metallo, Last Man Standing.
Yeah. Metallo was really good in World's Finest. Like he was deceptively good.
Oh yeah, at the WKO pulling Metallo and Booster Gold and Blue Beetle for my 300-point team. That was fantastic.
That was a gross team.
Yeah. My WKO, I was happy to recover after the rough first round I had, because that's such a tough first round against Kingdom Come Superman. I managed to kill. I got points, which helped me get into the top 8. But after that first round, I knew I had to play my butt off in order to do well. But when you pull, I think I had 3 Supermen work with. That's what I need. 2 of them were on the board, and the other one was backing up. Depending on the situation I need, I'd switch them around, and it worked out really well for me. I keep getting told I have idle hands, and if I can do a lot of things in a single turn, I do a little better.
Yep.
So. All right. Rich.
All right. So, I guess really just sticking with the whole sealed type thing. Our venue did sealed instead of the draft because people at my venue can't stand the draft.
Don't blame them.
And so I had to do a sealed instead. So I guess I'm just kind of curious. Do you guys go in with any kind of strategies or anything going in? Because I know you really can't plan a team in a sealed or a draft for that matter. But do you have any general ideas of basic strategies or ideas for that type of environment?
Yeah. Step 1: what's the biggest point figure in the pack? Step 2 is something smaller point and actually noticeably better. If not, go back to figure A. And that's when it comes to draft, that's the best strategy you can pull. Honestly, I always pull the rarest figure in the first pack because if it's a super rare or rare, why not? Why skip that chance? I mean, it gives you a head start on your collection in the future, and generally they're pretty okay. There's a few exceptions out there. I don't. If you're looking to win the draft, which you got to pick the high point figures. But if you're looking to just get a head start in your collection, which is the mentality you should come in with, go rarity order. But definitely, if you're trying to win, go point order because there is no point value. So everything's made up and the points don't matter, much like whose line is it anyway? Yeah. So, anything you want to add on to that?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's generally it. It's the pre-releases are not in any way a competitive environment.
No.
It's just you get what you get, you play with what you get, and have some fun with it. Learn the pieces. It's an opportunity to learn the set itself and see how it relates. The pieces relate to one another on as a whole. And one of the things that helps with that is the fact that you're playing with 5 pieces instead of playing within the 300-point range. And I mean, a good strategy to have is try and get some prob, try and get a little bit of outwit, and try and get a little bit of perplex, because all of those things are very, very valuable in any sealed environment. Yeah.
And one thing as well that can be taken away from using the draft. If you go to cons, go to the big shows, the Worlds, Nationals, high-level tournaments, the side events are battle royales, and they use the same format. But where it's different is that it's 4 people on a map duking it out. Backstabbing happens constantly.
Oh my God.
Sometimes they're 3-on-1, whatever. But it gets you the idea of how to draft for the build. As well with the battle royale, using my strategy, 5 points first, then etc. Works because in the battle royale you don't end up with your figures, and you end up drafting the figures at the end in placement order, going 1 2 3 4 4 4 3 2 1 1 2 3 4 in snake draft order. So it's a good way to get practice for those battle royales because that's the format if you're going to be getting those really big con LEs that everybody always wants. So. That's the mindset going with that silly draft format. If we had half the players show up that we did at our venue, I definitely would have tried to ask if everybody would be up for sealed because I prefer it. And what's the next chance we're going to get a Dr. Nemesis, right?
Now for sealed itself, like actually just 2 boosters build a team. Used to have a strategy, then they changed the way the game works.
Yeah.
The last 2 sets, pretty much that we've seen, even if you count like Ninja Turtles, picking up the 150-point character, which sometimes is a really good benefit. A lot of the times we're seeing these 50, 75-point characters just do better.
Yeah.
And be better, and you can build a team of these like 50-point guys, and you might actually fare better than picking the 200-point guy.
Let me tell you about the 15-point Morlock. Flurry shape change? Yes, please.
Yeah, well, my team was a 4-figure team and took on a Proteus and an X-23 and beat it. You know, like I said before, like you guys kind of went over my team a little bit on the Meta Lab on Monday, but it worked out really well. It was a 4-character team and a 300-point concealed. So
this set versus other sets also kind of brought in this whole idea, and it's probably an older idea that Jason and Amber may be used to from back in the day when swarms were more prevalent. But having leadership is really, really valuable in these swarmy teams, because you're going to probably want to use more than 3 actions per turn.
Yeah, definitely. Because like I had the 50-point Cyclops, and I was rolling leadership every turn. Not even that, but he also gets prop control when he succeeds his leadership. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, in this set specifically, leadership goes into a new tier. From other sets, leadership is just a power. Unless your team is super big, you kind of look at it and go, whatever, right? Or unless the guy with leadership happens to be the biggest guy on your team, you might get a chance to clear a token. In this set, leadership. The extra action token puts this into like the top 4 powers of the set. Next to, of course, Prop, Outwit, Perplex, as they just become good and sealed. And leadership adds itself to the top of the tier because there's a lot of figures being played. And there's a couple figures named Cyclops that all happen to have leadership, and there's a couple other figures with leadership. John Greymane, I think, was one that caught me off guard. It's like, he's got leadership. Okay, cool.
Well, the only reason to use that Kitty Pryde at 45 points is for her leadership.
Yeah. Yeah, but her leadership is actually pretty decent too. I think it didn't have an extra.
No, it's the all new X-Men effect. So if you build with all new X-Men, it's great, but otherwise it's useless. It's because she's 45 points. It's really just about getting that extra action.
Yeah. So, but of course, those all new X-Men.
They are awesome. They are absolutely
pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh man, I love the Jean from the Fast Forces. She's so good.
Oh yeah. Good.
But couldn't you see a team built around her, and the fact that she's gonna come in on that last click? If you pay
having the prime swap over.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily built around it, but that last click is something pretty damn special, and that considering you're only paying 50 points for her, or 45 points? I'm not sure.
50 with the trait, yeah.
50 with the trade?
Yeah, it's 50 with the trade.
And then look what you're getting on, at the end. Now, but then that's taking up your prime slot. I don't know. Maybe this is something we could chat about. I'd love to see someone make it work really well. I don't necessarily think that an entirely all-new X-Men team is going to be top tier. Right.
I'd love to see
Iceman exists.
Yeah, not when the super rare Iceman exists, for sure. Yeah.
All right. So we move around now to Matt.
Hi, yes. So I was going to ask about sealed advice for the X-Men set because I'm thinking about Nationals.
Uh-huh.
Of course, you guys might be my opponents, so
it's okay.
We gotta,
That's okay.
not fool each other.
Well, that's one of the wonderful things about I'm not sure about the American scene so much, but the Canadian HeroClix community is that we all do pretty much help each other. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what was the rest of your question?
Well, what team are you playing on day 2, and how best to beat it, basically?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I got
Let me
a
best
good one.
represent this with sign language.
And it uses.
Oh, you cut out there.
And then when you do is you add. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
You cut out for a second there, Jason. Sorry, I couldn't
Really?
hear you. Yeah.
So you hear that?
Not even hearing it now when you're doing that because you're actually muting yourself very nicely. That's awesome.
The joke's on you because
He's
I
making a
can
point.
guys.
All I heard was Kyle Rayner.
Oh, you must have heard Mike's microphone then.
Maybe.
Well, that's what I'm playing, right? I'm gonna play Kyle Rayner with the Orange Battery
Yeah.
and Nighthawk Prime. Maybe
So
Got
same
it.
thing everybody else is playing?
This sounds unique, Mike. Go on.
I don't think I've ever seen this team before. How does this work?
I don't know if you guys caught that match. I believe it was in Spain, possibly. Yeah, it was just maybe the final match was the only one they put on YouTube. But it was double Coriander, I believe. No, it was Coriander, Roy Harper, Orange Battery, Ophidian, Red Hood and the Outlaws, ATA.
Oh yeah.
Against a Nick Fury with Ophidian, Nighthawk Prime, Orange Battery on the space map. Did you guys get a chance to watch that match or anything?
No.
I didn't watch it, but it sounds if it went the way I think it did, it was Coriander and Red and Arsenal kill something and then walk away.
Sure. I can imagine that's probably what happened.
I would like that. That seems to be best case scenario for the guy using because you can't draw a line of fire to those guys with the ATA. And it's like, well, all right, I killed something. I'm done. Your Nick Fury can't do anything. I'll have to watch it to analyze it. I might bring that information to a Metafix episode or something. Maybe go down that one because I'm looking for some content for Metafix lately.
Well, actually, if I had to ask a real question, it would be like I am very impressed with you meta builders and your way that your minds work for constructing these teams because really I just sit there going, this is a good figure I've seen in Rocks, this is a good figure I've seen in Rocks, this is a good figure I've seen in Rocks, I'll just cram them together. And on MetaLab this week, Mike, you mentioned something about the new super rare Iceman, and you were saying, okay, he's great, but if you could give him willpower and if you could give him a way to sidestep, he'd be even better. And I really like that. And I just want to know, just some very basic tips about how you would go about building a meta team. Do you start with one figure? Do you start with an overall idea? Do you take somebody else's idea and play with it, or all of the above?
I like Jason's method for starting teams because it usually starts with a joke.
Yeah.
And he builds out from there, or he'll start with a prime and go from there.
Yep.
I do it a little bit differently, but I don't know, Amber. What do you usually do?
Amber starts with the pretty ones.
I do. I was trying to think of like my teams and the evolutions of them over the last 3 years that we've prepped for nationals, and it's pretty much just been like, I like this figure, Jason, build me a team for it.
Yeah.
And then he goes, well, that figure's not good enough. Find your next favorite.
This year, Amber did build her team. I am very impressed with the lady.
I have faced it. It's pretty solid.
Yeah. Actually, this year is the first year I'm pretty comfortable with a team that didn't start as a joke and actually started as a legitimate team.
It's also very potent.
I'm so close to playing Tom's Mirror Master team
that. We haven't put the video up, Amber. We haven't put the video up on that one. But
you'll know what I'm talking
yeah, when you see it, you have to see it to believe it.
It's a Mirror Master team?
It's a Mirror Master team.
Okay. Does it include ID cards?
Nope.
Okay, because those 30-point Mirror Masters can bring in 90-point characters.
That's true. It's much more torturous than that.
Okay. I can't wait to see it.
I usually start with a figure that I know is going to be either is already or is going to be really, really potent and hard to kill against a whole series of different teams. And I'll start with that idea and I'll start building around it. And what is it missing? What is this general team missing? Because there's the different elements of team building itself, right? You almost like 99% of the time you need to have a prob. That's a big one, right? I defied that with my Orange Lantern Kyle team, but realistically, all that team could win was roll-offs. So there is that. So you want to have that. So so you need to have some kind of dice control, Nixie helps, along with some kind of stat modification or replacement, along with something that says no, you can't. So the opponents can't do something in some way. Like for instance, Nighthawk obviously Nighthawk Prime prevents them from modifying their stats upward. That's a big can't. The orange battery just actually literally says, no, you cannot use this power as long as I have this power, or this ability, really. Because the whole, like, that thing on its own I've had quite a bit of experience with. Taking away people's improved targeting or ability to improve movement, just insane. Absolutely insane. Nick Fury also does the whole can't thing on top of it, which is incredibly powerful. But then there's also like yellow battery, which can'ts the other person by modifying their stats downward if they're lower points value. What's that? Sorry.
It can't hit me.
Yeah, it's true. And then really just go from there to working on like create that team and then work on maps, because maps are 30% of the game. I think about it as like we've got the game is divided into thirds. You've got your team, the map, and dice. So a full third of the game you can't control. Like realistically, you can a little bit with prob and with having better stats and everything else, but you don't have any control over that in general. Mm-hmm. So work on the other two that you really can work on, and that is the team itself, which is the biggest, like it's the most important piece of it. I still consider it thirds, and then work on the map choice or map choices, because your opponents can always choose maps that you have as well. So you want to make sure that all of your maps are going to work for your team in varying scenarios, but also they're not necessarily going to work for the opposition. So that's another layer of complexity as well, wherein you're understanding maps that work and do not work to a certain degree for other major meta teams, right? So when creating a team, starting small with, I know this figure is going to be great. I know what's going to pair well with it. How am I going to counter varying effects? Like a big one, for instance, is Nick Fury's +1 to attack and damage versus the highest point character on your team. Well, you can avoid that by having two 110-point characters if you want to go with Iceman, for instance. Or
120-point Ultron drones.
Exactly, or a whole series of Ultron drones, swarmy goodness. And then you want to think about, well, how am I going to make them those characters more robust, and how am I going to fill in the blanks with them? Like willpower is the issue. Synergy is a big issue. You want to make sure that their powers are going to work well together, or just complement each other, or they're each individually, like in a balanced team, really going to work well as individuals and still have some kind of way to interrelate. There's a lot to it, but yeah. I think that one thing that both Amber and Jason would agree with is that doing team building daily is really helpful, because you don't get out of practice.
Yeah.
So building like one or more teams per day, even if it's just for fun or if it's just building for something that's coming up, just going through the motions of doing those things will help you maintain that muscle, right? Because for me, this is not a game. This is a sport. And as with every other sport, you need to stay in practice. So practice makes your teams better.
Oh, he said it.
Oh, he dropped the phrase. I heard that. I heard that. Oh, man.
That's like in the movie when they say the name of the movie.
That's it. That shit's so Meta Lab.
So the other thing I wanted to say on top of that, with Mike mentioning practice in just whatever you're doing with team building, one of the things that I do have to say has made a significant difference between this year prepping for nationals and the last 2 years that we've had nationals up in Canada has been this year we have Mike and Tom.
Yeah.
And last year it was just me and Jason, and sometimes throwing different heads together actually improves your team building because different perspectives will see different holes in your strategy. Where even our last practice night, we had all kind of had our teams that we were trying out, and while me and Mike were doing a team, Jason and Tom were talking about the game that they just played, and they're like, but what if we did, oh, what if you did, oh, let's go do this.
and then we made a makeshift table with a corkboard and 2 chairs, and we're like, we got to try this now just to make sure that our math that we just did works out.
So sometimes just even having just like that board to bounce off ideas off of can help improve your team building.
And in addition to all of this, I did an episode where I've done this before, and I have to do it again, is we all like comic books. We love our characters. But we have to take these characters, and yes, this is Major Force, and just forget about that.
Yeah.
Go to the dial.
That's one of my big flaws. I'm so tied to the comic books. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
You can also just go like this, actually. You know, you
You
can just take the dial out and not break the figure. That's another option.
No, but there's important information on the top here. I mean, the name's not important, but everything else is.
True. It is true. Yeah, just being cheeky.
There's
what you should play?
A foundation.
You should play because it's the last opportunity. You should play the Weaponer of Quard.
What's that?
The Weaponer of Quard.
I think I got one of those. Hold on a second.
Stop breaking the children's hieroglyphs.
Oh, they do it too.
I know.
All right, my boys have commandeered my commons, uncommons, and rares that are about to go golden. So they're toys now. But they treat them as 3-year-olds do. So, yeah, put all that together that we just said, Matt.
Yeah.
And you should do well. Of course, your patron, message me or Mike, if you need any help.
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell you my team, but I'd be fully willing to help you make yours better.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I played Kyle Rayner with the Orange Battery and Nighthawk Prime, I wouldn't even know what to do against it, unfortunately. So you're safe no matter what you play. So
I'm not playing that anyway.
No, I know.
I've moved on.
I'm just saying, you could tell me your team. I don't think I'd win. That would be fun.
Yeah.
All right. We're now back at the beginning of the loop. So, Mike, you're up, sir.
All right. I only think it's fair. Here we go. Guardian.
Whoa. For half a second, I thought it was a Jesus
That's fine.
crucifix.
Have you played with those figures? They're terrible. WizKids hates Alpha Flight.
Hey, they're not so bad.
Alpha Flight OP, and it's gonna have Vindicator instead of Guardian.
And it's gonna suck again too.
But it's got boobs.
Boobs are wonderful.
What about the 2 that can do pulse wave if they're adjacent? There seemed to be a little bit of meta potential there. I couldn't put it together.
There were too many points. At 80 points each, it's 160 just to protect each other from pulse wave. It wasn't good enough.
And for 10 more points, wouldn't you rather have Zombie Super Scroll?
Exactly.
Zombie Scooper Skull. Oh my God, I've only played him once, and I just didn't do well.
That's a part. Sorry, Mike. We're gonna get your question in a second. Matt, this is another thing we missed. When you're about to pay your points, think for a second and say, with these points I'm about to pay, can I do something better?
Yeah.
So, for instance, I got a 110-point figure or 110 points worth of figure. Is it more beneficial to do this or Iceman?
Right.
Always Iceman.
Well, you do have to put work in Iceman and Constructed, but yes, always Ice. Never discount the Iceman.
135 points in Constructed.
Yeah, he is basically 135 points. I don't know, going into the new meta, is there any way of just outright giving him willpower anymore? I mean, I know he's going to be pretty safe with a Pandora box, especially once you add those side steps from the pieces.
Well, you can give him the Wrath piece, right? Wrath has willpower?
Yeah, Wrath has willpower, that's what it was. Okay, there we go. Yep, just making sure.
There's another way. You can have your Fast Forces Lex Luthor KO Thunderbird.
That's right. Thunderbird was going to do it to himself anyway.
Exactly. And now you not only do you have the +1 to your combat values that turn, you have it on your opponent's turn, and then you have it on your next till the end of your next turn. So technically 3 turns, but that's 150 points. So
it depends. It's a way. Think about the way is the first part. The second part is trying to find the discount in there.
We decided to throw the Quinjet.
What do we do with the Quinjet?
We put it on an arrow.
Oh yeah. So the other day we were talking about the Hawkeye, and we figured out a way to have Hawkeye shoot a Quinjet at somebody.
I really like that.
It was a card ride worth of like 3 judges and a player, and just being like 4 judges.
4 judges. That's 4 judges
in a car being like, can we work around the rules to make this work?
That's another way to get ideas.
Is have that conversation.
4 HeroClix players in a room and just let them go, and then nonsense happens.
now here's your challenge. Do it at the beginning of your turn. It's going to have to be a free action attack somehow, but all the rest of it can work. And then you can call in an ID character, and then you could call in another ID character as a free action by using the Quinjet power. But yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ridiculous.
Mike, we took up all this time. Sorry, it's your question, sir.
All right, sorry about that. Well, all right, so yeah, the X-Men set. Going back to talking about the X-Men set. Unfortunately, I did not pull a Proteus, the one piece that I so desperately wanted. However, I want to know what happened in the game, or at least in the meta game, that increased the price of possession or equipment, or however they want to call it now, because it usually was 25 points. It's 35 points, and why did they stop doing like a dual dial type of thing like that? He's 200 points to play in the game, I guess, but then they just made it a special power and stuff like that. Like, can you guys shed some light on why they stopped messing around with like a split dial? And
yeah, I don't think they stopped it altogether. They just, for Proteus, didn't think it was appropriate. For one, they added 10 points to it for a number of reasons, one of which was he adds +1 to everything.
Not just one stat.
Yeah, not just one stat. It's your movement, your attack, your defense, your damage, and your range all go up courtesy of Proteus.
He also doesn't die when the possessed character dies.
Yeah,
and
it shifts to the next guy.
Everybody he can possess dies. He comes on the board.
So in fact, at 35 points, if he doesn't do damage to the characters he's possessing, he's broken as fuck. I warned people at the beginning. You all got warned. But yeah, if he isn't doing damage to that character, he should be a 45-point possessor. So take 10 points off, make it so people will use it, give it that 1 in 3 chance he's going to do damage. People pay are willing to pick powers with the zombie Super Scroll, they'll pick 4 powers with the zombie Super Scroll, whatever. I took a damage. Think of the output you get out of it, right? So Proteus is just one that works differently. In addition to which, once he's run out of people to possess, he comes on the board on his last click. That's never happened with a possessor. Possessors don't come on the board when they start possessing. They're on the side. When that guy dies, the game's over for the possessor. In this case, he comes in and he's ready to fight.
I generally try not to come on the board at all because it's messy.
What's that?
Come on.
Oh, gee. Come on, bro. I need that button. Where's that button?
So then, a follow-up question, if I may. Who would you rather have, though, if you were using a team with a possessor? Proteus or Eclipso?
On that note, what does my team look like?
Yeah.
Proteus, I'm going to put on a team with, and this does exist, low point thick dials. Because believe it or not, that is a thing you can make happen, where you'll have characters who aren't too high in points, but they do have dials that are fairly impressive for what you're getting. So that's step one. Do I have a lot of low point guys that have dials that I don't mind taking a couple damage with? Secondly, how big is my team? If it's a lot of figures, I'm probably more likely to go with Proteus because he'll bounce from figure to figure to figure to figure to figure, right? But of course, you also have to take into effect is, what do I need? Does the Calypso add a power to a single figure that that figure needs? Or have I built a team with enough powers where all I really need is the stats that Proteus offers, and I'm able to play it a little bit more carelessly because the first character against Proteus is going to be doing a lot of damage. Then if that guy happens to die, the next guy is going to follow up, and at the mid-game point, he's going to capitalize on the damage that just got done by the first guy. So you got to look at how your team build looks, or what looks better in the situation that you've built for. Honestly, the possessors are coming a little later in the build. With War of Light, it was like you could start with Ophidian and Parallax and put it on a wet potato and be fine. In this case, you have to put a little bit more thought into what's appropriate for the teams that you're building with the possessors. And with Eclipso specifically, is the guy that I'm putting Eclipso on going to need what Eclipso offers as far as a power set and as far as a stat set? And am I going to get what I need out of that? Or is it safer for me to put Proteus and say, I'm getting +1 everything, let's go! Woohoo! So that's how I would level that out. Mike, do you?
I like stats. Yeah. I like cheese and I like stats. There is that.
Agree with your stats, sir.
I do lean more towards using Proteus than any other possessor post-retirement at the moment. But yes, it always does come down to what do you need? What is missing? What could I use this for? They're all very good. Even Yocasta or Jocasta.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a ton of robots that she's appropriate for, so never forget.
So many robots.
So many.
So many robots.
All of the robots. So, all right. Up next, Chris.
All right. Well, I'll just run through some bullet points. Proteus, obviously a character that heals at like what, Shaggy Man?
Shaggy Man.
Shaggy Man.
I
I believe at the beginning
Shaggy
of
Man's too high points. Because Proteus can only possess 100 points or lower.
Very good point. But Blade, maybe, for example, although if he took damage, I'm not sure if he'd be able to heal. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, anybody that heals, even like that Wolverine, I believe, when he clears action tokens, or several of the characters that heal when they clear action tokens, or other good characters for Proteus. Just ones that I've thought about.
Age 23, the rare?
was thinking Omega Red.
Yeah.
All steel energy.
Or Rogue, I guess, kind of. She's okay.
Yeah. At her lower points?
I don't know about that. I'm a little
Because their
scared.
higher points is sort of worth using, but not really. I mean, 150. It's half
Sure.
your team. It's a lot. I like Omega Red for that possibility, because he does get up to a 12 attack at his top and has that crazy swing because of his giant reach 3. So you're able to actually get to people without actually getting to them, and then he goes, "Get over here," and they go right beside him.
Very good point.
Yeah, that's a good possibility with that. And he's 90 points, right? So he does qualify for Proteus.
Yep. And pre-cuts, the White Lantern battery with Emotional Spectrum.
Yep.
Take a power action on somebody. Heal 6 people. Or heal a bunch of people.
True.
Yeah.
Or the Indigo battery, which seems to be doing really well right now, obviously. Let's see, what was I going to say for team building? A lot of times I have a hard time breaking away from a concept. Like, I worked so hard on the Midnight Sun, or, I want to play this type of team, or my Dr. Octopus teams, whatever. Just, what are some other factors that you guys consider in, where you maybe want to change up your play style? Maybe you don't want to play Kyle Rayner this time, or, for me, I don't want to play what everybody else is playing. I want to be unique. I want to be different. I want to put the Guardians of the Galaxy out there, and I love that team Tom built that time with Mantis and that Drax, that Target Drax that we all want to see work, but nobody's brave enough to try it. I don't know, especially with Mental Flick. You can just land on that 5. But anyway, just some thoughts that you guys go into team building.
Now,
Jason, before you move on, there was one other thought that I had, and that was, when you're making a team, you have to be a little bit self-aware as well, and that is, how is my energy going to fare over the course of a long day? Is this a team that I'm going to be able to pilot really well and make the minimum amount of mistakes with over the course of 8 to maybe 10 games, relatively back-to-back? So if your muscle isn't, as I was saying before, it's like a sport, right? You need to build up that muscle. If you understand that you are going to wear out at a certain point, try and play a team that is less taxing for you to play, but it's still really good. But there are lots of them.
That makes sense. A lot of sense.
I actually did that last year. At Nationals was the first year that we went. We each just had one team for both days, and I ended up having a team that was solely based on free actions, and it had so many moving parts that I found that even by the second day, I was still making mistakes by it.
That was first year, sorry.
Yeah, that was the first year. And then, so the second year, where I kind of had an idea as to what was going to be going on, and the kind of day that we'd have the day before, and how much sleep we'd have, that I was like, okay, we're going to have the team that I'm going to go into qualifiers with, because last year qualifiers were half sealed, half constructed. And then I built a completely different team for day 2 that required no thinking at all. And it was just put it on the board and roll dice. And that was the convention exclusive Brainiac Skull Ship with the Sinestro Core battery. And it was just like, you can't hit me. I'm going to go around, collect my city tokens. Now I'm in God mode. Okay, bye-bye. And, like, the worst fought game was just up against the Doctor Strange, and it was completely locked down. I'm like, well, nobody's going to enjoy playing this game, so...
But one of the things you mentioned is stepping out of your own zone, and that's hard without a team. Without a group of people, you don't have a ton of options of people to, push your limits, test you, force you to kind of think in that mindset. And like Mike said, if you're new to the mindset, you might not be ready for the big tournament with it, especially once you get into the long set of rounds, like 8 or 9 rounds, like he was saying. Because by about 8 or 9 rounds, I told a friend of mine many years ago, these big tournaments, in the late rounds, there are little garden gnomes running around the table. You have no idea what's going on, and your eyes are getting heavy. So unless you're a raging caffeine addict like myself, or just generally need to be occupied, a more simple team might actually take you further. But just don't get too caught in your own space. You're like, if it's working, like for instance your Doc Ock team, that's a team that works. It's done you well, and you've been getting practice with it. You could probably do better in the next tournament, having seen some mistakes that you've made with it, or seen some matchups that you might be able to improve. So there's nothing wrong with changing it up for the next one, saying I'm going to change to this way of doing things with the same team. But if you're finding that the team just in the environment, there is a specific team or two that is giving you a problem, and you can't shift away from it, and you can't find a tool to add to your team to deal with that, or you can't just dodge the issue, that's when you have to look at it and go, okay, it is time to reset, and that's really your deciding point, right? Is I can't deal with this one aspect, time for me to walk away from it, right? And that's where we kind of stress having a team or having somebody to practice with. A good place to find people to just practice with could be your local game store. If you just are friendly with people, you know a guy's not going to the big tournament, and you say, hey, could you run this team for me so that I know if my team here can work against it?
Sure.
Can go a long way. But getting too attachment happens. But you're not going to lose attachment until you lose.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think all I wrote down here was team building, and one of the main reasons that I had jotted this down was I recently acquired the new Quicksilver, who is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's amazing. So, I plan on really building some teams around him. But then, so is Scarlet Witch, and so is Malice. I love what she does. I mean, when she gets KO'd, there are no points scored to your opponent. I think we're all in agreement on that. So that's 375-point figures right there. That's 225. If I wanted to throw an entity in a battery, somebody's going to have to not be on this team. You know, so.
Well, entity in a battery, I mean, you're 225. Proteus works on all your guys, so 35, you're at 260. 40 points is plenty for a 3-person team battery.
Who needs an entity, right?
I would suggest 2 Quicksilvers, Scarlet Witch, and Phoenix Force.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem is they've all got this, or it's not a problem, but it is a problem, and this is also why I wanted to talk about it. Most of the characters that I just mentioned also have the Avengers keyword, so we're looking at Fast Force's Captain America. Now, he can give them free move actions as long as they have one or less action tokens, so that means they get to use the X-Men TA as a free action.
Yep.
I want to work that into the team too, because that seems really good. Not to mention the extra movement for Quicksilver and his little shadow marker, all that. So I'm running out of points here, man.
Can I crush a lot of dreams on Quicksilver?
Sure.
He has 2 problems: bushes and plasticity. Because even though he does automatically break away, on the PAC now, plasticity doesn't allow you to automatically break away. Okay. So you still have to break away from plasticity. You still have to stop with plasticity. So an Orange Lantern team is just going to laugh at you.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of people are getting excited about Quicksilver. I wouldn't go as far as making him everything about your team.
Yeah.
Understandable. Hank Pym can make him a giant.
Or a red battery can give him giant reach.
There's those 2 things.
Then he doesn't have to be adjacent.
Yeah.
And then we have some penetrating poison to add to the team. And whatever constructs you choose can work
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah, and then
These are a couple ideas. I'm not.
yeah, well, and also we'll be moving past the battery soon. So I don't know, man. It's fun talking about this, and I know I don't have any real specific questions, but man, I really do appreciate you guys' input.
Hey, you know, this isn't just for questions. If you want to bounce an idea off of us, we'll bounce it back at you. That's cool. I want to make sure people understand that Quicksilver's so cool, and yeah, he automatically breaks away, but Plasticity's still gonna be a dickhead.
Right.
So, I know you guys are more, I'm assuming most of you guys are actually subscribed to our YouTube channel, and when you're not subscribed, we have a trailer, and the trailer I made like 2 years ago, and it was all based off of like the first few games that we ever played, and there's just one of the snippets in the trailer is a game that we did of X-Men versus Brotherhood, and the small little clip of the trailer is just me ragging on Jason, where he's talking about Quicksilver, and all you hear me see is yeah, but you still don't ignore hindering, bitch. So when you brought that up, it made me think about that.
He still has problems with bushes.
Doesn't ignore hindering.
Push! Ah!
You guys.
Oh, you guys are terrible.
Look, Quicksilver gets around bushes, man. Let's go. All right, Rich. Now we're through the nonsense. It's your turn again.
All right. I guess really, as we were breaking figures, I kind of thought this question. With the set rotations coming out and stuff, obviously there's a lot of things, a lot of sets that are needing to be purged or whatever from a lot of collections. What is your best method, would you say, for getting rid of some of your stuff that's about to retire when you don't have children to give them away to? Because I know that your kids probably won't get everything.
Okay, in case you missed that, in the little thumbnail that was at the bottom of the screen, Jason took a giant tub of HeroClix and just threw it in a bag. And the bag fell because it got really heavy.
I do keep a small Golden Age, but it is going to be made up of things I'm going to use in conjunction with stuff that I'm going to keep from the Modern Age. Let's dig this down deep here. I don't have the space to keep my Golden Age collection. With, like you said, if you don't have kids, you get a little bit more space. So if you're strictly competitive, but you do have the occasional fun game, keep your favorites. But if you're not strictly competitive and you play a lot of Golden Age, keep your stuff. That's up to you. When I refer to like just purging the collection, it's convenience, and it's to keep myself focused on the same thing that WizKids focuses on, which is the modern game. WizKids, after the year that cop cars just went rampant across Golden Age Worlds, which was the last year we had Golden Age Worlds, the year that Jake Williams won that, we haven't seen a Golden Age Worlds tournament since. And that is because a lot of things in Modern can be drastically broken with a lot of the low point stuff that is Golden Age. And that was because they went back and actually added keywords to a lot of those figures. And as a result, you're able to make theme teams, you're able to add ATAs, you're able to do a bunch of stuff to things. So once you added the nonsense to all this stuff that's Golden Age, in addition to stuff that's Modern Age, it got really messy. And if we go back to specifically the cop cars, before the cop cars got around to not deal penetrating damage, you had, I think it was 20-point, 15-point cops from the Batman Alpha set, which I think 7 people bought. And it was one of the things that led to the Arkham Asylum death of HeroClix, as I refer to it, or the bad year, the dark year. And they released this awesome starter set with a lot of simple figures, increased size. It was really new player friendly, but established players looked at this and said, "What is this? I don't want this junk. All these figures are junk now." Like nothing was good enough until Golden Age Worlds, where we had police cars that did penetrating damage just for moving, and then it wasn't just for moving as an action. It's also for moving with a free action from the GCPD ATA. So nonsense ensued, and they just kind of looked at it and said, we can't keep control of this. It got out of hand, and it was a part of it is just the way the game progressed, and the way the game shaped itself. You don't have 18-point boom booms anymore. You have 18-point generic Soldier A. You don't have 12-point or 18-point Electra LEs anymore. You have 18-point just generic ninjas. And the way that the game shaped up is if you could start splashing those little things and the big things just to add the little piece that you need to make the little thing work, you could, nonsense started to ensue. So WizKids itself said, the heck with it, we're not going to Golden Age anymore. Of course, I'm speculating, I'm telling tall tales that I'm guessing led to all of this. So they don't support the Golden Age. Stores support WizKids doesn't. It's not like Magic the Gathering, where Magic the Gathering does support Legacy, does support Modern, just not on the pro circuit. They just say stores run your thing and whatever, right? So because WizKids isn't really paying attention to it, I don't pay attention to it because we just kind of want to keep the channel on that direction, that line of fire. And of course, again, because we also play in competitive tournaments lately, WizKids isn't going to be running Golden Age. Why do I keep a Golden Age, right? So, long story short, I'm a big purger, and I dump it all, with the exception of like at most a dozen figures stick with me from Golden Age. This year, it's Orange Lanterns, and Red Lanterns. Previously, it was Alyosha Craven and Doctor Strange, I think. That was about it. So that's kind of how I do it now, or how we do it for space and time. But Mike is in the midst of his first big shift. So, Mike, how are you handling it yourself right now?
I'm not. No, I have so much shit. It's just like if you can see back there, it's just it's a little bit covered by this board. Oh, sorry, Kitty. It's covered by this board here, but that's all HeroClix back there.
Oh, that's nothing.
Well, no, I live with a woman.
So do I.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. So realistically, I'm just gonna give away everything. I judge at a store on Wednesdays, and so I will simply put everything that isn't a super rare and above into a bag, take it, plop it on the table, let them go nuts, and then I will just throw out the rest. I'm also going to put together a few kind of newbie packs, because I do talk to a lot of new players, and I'm just going to give them to these specific people. And then with the super rares, unless it's something that I really love and have history with, I don't care. I'll sell it if I can, and if I can't, I'll just give it away. And I do keep all my primes, though. I'm collecting all of the primes. I'm only missing like 7 of them now. So there is that. I'm going to be completing the X-Men primes tomorrow.
Nice.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I just on a side note, just kind of funny that you're saying this, I traded Necron that I paid out the wazoo for because I didn't win one. I wasn't that good back then. I traded the Anti-Monitor. I traded Abracadabra, which I had to buy online, and what's the other figure she can TK after she moved? Magenta. And Space Cesaro for Quicksilver, Iceman, Emma Frost Prime, and that Angel LE from about a year ago. But I traded all that. Yeah, just I mean, it's got to go, man. There's not enough space.
Yeah, actually Amber has my Necron right now, because she's going to turn it into a trophy for the upcoming Rock Canada Cup.
That sounds exciting.
Plug.
Are you gonna paint it or mod it or?
Oh, have you guys seen the provincial trophy she made? I'll get it.
Go grab it, Mike. I'm just gonna add on. I don't just like that was just what I do with the common rares. The super rares I sell for really cheap because some players do respect and play the golden age. It's not that I don't respect the golden age. It's allowed to exist as far as I'm concerned. I wish WizKids would support it a little bit more than it does because that would actually strengthen the game if you ask me. But they'd have to do so much work to balance it, and like my understanding is they've cut a bunch of their staff, and there's a really limited number of people they have to actually go out and balance every single little thing.
Mike is
So,
showing
Mike's
off the trophy
showing it
that
off.
I made for last year.
Yeah, Ember made this for last year's ROC Provincials.
You need to screen. You need to share. Like make him the big one. You're still focused.
Yeah, you know what? On what's being broadcast, we've done that. So if you click on Mike's face there, you should be able to.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm touching
wow.
you. I'm touching you.
That's creepy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
Amber
cool.
painted that.
I
we
love it.
attached it to the plaque. We've got the plaque made and engraved, right?
The plaque was a whole. That's a
was an
whole
ordeal.
story all into itself.
Just say it was an ordeal.
It was an ordeal. But I did get that plaque actually engraved to say that
Ontario Rock
That
Champ.
is my Matt.
But yeah, actually, if you guys can see that, I got it. It says Ontario Rock Champ. I got it engraved. It's a plaque to go on there. But yeah, it was an old Infinity Gauntlet. So then our idea originally was that we were going to do whatever resource was going to retire that year and use that as a trophy. But then Mike gave us the Necron, so I'm going to do something with that. I haven't decided yet, but something like that will
The Golden
get
Lantern.
done for it.
I think we'll do the
After
Golden
I'm
Lantern
done
for
making
provincials.
my comic book bouquets and boutonnieres and everything else for my wedding that's coming up in
For-
less than 2 months.
For Rock Provincials, we'll probably do a golden battery.
Yeah.
Because Provincials is being run by us at the Comic Warehouse.
Mhm.
Mike is in charge of 401's Rock Nationals or Rock Canada Cup. So that's what the Necron is for. So we'll maintain the resource being retired thing for provincials. That's for sure. So yeah, and just if you're staying like Rich to continue on, which where we originally started is if you don't want the Golden Age, dump the Golden Age. But unfortunately, don't expect to get much in return for your commons, uncommons, and rares. Honestly, the last purge we did, I got rid of it. It took me till the late summer to do it, and I put it all in a box, put all the cards in the box, and I turned around and said, $10, it's all yours. I don't know what's in it.
We don't even know if the cards
Buyer beware.
But
Yeah. So buyer beware box.
Yeah, because I've got the issue right now because my venue that I go to decided that they weren't going to allow us to do golden anymore. So all of a sudden, golden figures became a lot less valuable to me. Problem is before then, I've kept everything, and I've been playing since right before Explosion.
Oy, oy, oy.
So I have 2 full-size tubs that people use for like blankets and stuff like that. One's completely filled to the brim with commons, uncommons, and rares of Marvel, and the other's filled with my DC. And I'm talking to the brim.
Yeah.
So, and that's just my commons, uncommons, and rares. We're not even talking about like the bigger stuff. So if I wanted to really purge, it's gonna be a huge purge.
Yeah. And
You should do it, man. You'll feel better.
one of the things you got to walk into with a purge of that magnitude, it's a loss. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
yeah, the depreciating value on HeroClix is kind of saddening.
And that's another thing about old figures, unlike Magic the Gathering, where you can get a $3,000 Black Lotus and people will still pay that because Legacy is a thing. There's no Legacy, there's no Golden Age supported in the high level for HeroClix, so it's really not worth any kind of investment, and it's kind of seen as old junk. So things a lot of things, unless they're really, really super rare, definitely dumped in value. So.
Yeah, the only things that seem to really maintain value in the long run are convention exclusives. Although I think that that's going to change because they are more readily available now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Also, like, every now and then you might get lucky and find a collector. When we got back in to HeroClix, like, for me, I have every single Wolverine that they've made. And I was out of HeroClix for a couple of years, and when I came in, I had to hunt down the ones that had come out while I was away. And I got lucky at one point where one of our local players, who is actually now one of our best friends over the years that we've been playing with him, I had just a bin of old LEs that me and Jason had won from like Ultimates and Explosion and whatever. Like, they are 50 cents on like Cool Stuff Inc. And they were before his time and characters that he absolutely loved. And I basically handed him a bin for a Chase Wolverine that I didn't have. Where it was like, that was nothing to me to hand those over. And I got, at the time, I think he was still modern at the time. This was the Wolverage from Incredible Hulk. And so, like, I got a Chase for some old LEs that were collecting dust in my closet. So sometimes it just takes finding the right person. But more often than not, it's just people don't see much value in them.
It's funny the whole OP kit LEs, how we get them as judges so easily, and so they're not as valuable to us, like what you were just saying. But many people, they are gold.
Yeah. In the old days, they used to hit $20 to $50 depending on the figure.
Yeah.
Really? That's
because
amazing.
they were not as readily available as they are now. Like, they gave each store 3 per week. And that was it. Like, you actually got them every week in your shipments, and you didn't get like your whole month's worth in a day.
And you couldn't order more than one pack. It was
that's
just
right.
like,
You got it. This is Judge, Fellowship, Winner. That was it. So there was definitely a choke point on them at that point. So they were not as easy to get. And sometimes there'd be some real standouts, like Jane Foster, which was it was basically a paramedic, which was a generic figure with a gold ring and a name, and she was well sought after because she was 16 points or 20 points or something like that.
It was
she was a healer with willpower, which was unheard of.
I still have her in my bin somewhere.
Yeah, and like she hit double, like 50 to 100 in some cases. If it is, we have a conversation on Facebook that's dupling. I'll just take care of that right now and just go mute until 8 a.m. There we go. Sorry about that.
We're hearing Facebook blooms, and it's like, shut up, Facebook!
So yeah, there was definitely, and this is that thing that, like, Mike, you missed that part, and it's okay. But yeah, the LEs used to have a lot higher value than they do now. And I have no idea why they switched that.
Made me so happy that when I lost my James Howlett LE, I could get him again for 50 cents on Cool Stuff. Because damn, that hurt when I lost. I moved so many times that somewhere along the line, I used to keep them in their actual LE boxes. That's another thing. They used to come in boxes like the convention exclusive boxes.
Yeah.
That just had the set art on it rather than the figure art.
You didn't even know sometimes what was in that box.
Yeah. And so I had a whole bunch of LE boxes, and those all went missing between our moves, and I don't know what happened. And James Howlett was still in one of them. Same with the pre-release Purple Ring Mystique from the Red Guard.
If I was to go back in time, I think the day they lost value was the day they introduced the loser prize. Yeah. Back in the day, the early WES, when you would enter tournaments, eventually, around the time that Ultimates came out as a set, they introduced this thing where if you hadn't won a tournament for a month, you'd get entered into a draw. And if you won that draw, they'd send you an LE figure. One day I opened my mailbox, it was like, I got something from WizKids. Why is there an LE Rhino in my mailbox? guys, what's going on here? And even better is that LE Rhino at the time wasn't available as part of the prizings. Like, it wasn't an actual prize. It was specific to that prize, which made it super valuable. But then they started adding in the actual prizes into that draw and started giving those out, and then that's where the flood of LEs just kind of showed up. It's like there was just too many of them, and that's when LEs started to go down in value.
There was also a set or two that they introduced the golden characters, which were LEs, and they were set up like LEs, but you could pull them in a booster.
Yeah.
I have a Connor Kent that is the Superboy LE that was a prize, but the one that I have, instead of having a bronze ring and white writing, is a gold ring and gold writing, and he was an LE that you could pull in a booster.
That was like the absolute removal of value to them.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, I just pulled an LE in a booster.
Those were the first super rares.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those because I remember the Fantastic Four set came out, and I had it was Kane Marco and Reed Richards were like for the release of it, the release LEs, and I had pulled both of them before we even held our release event, so I already had both the prizes before we had the tournament to get the prizes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was actually Fantastic Forces was the first set they ever originally held pre-releases for, but they held those.
Fantastic Forces so much.
There was it? That was actual sealed. What's that?
Fantastic Forces was just an amazing set.
Well, it was also bad in the sense that like back then it was like what 4 figures per booster. And Fantastic Forces only gave you 3 because they had the double giants in that set. It was what is this nonsense?
So much of my nostalgia for these old sets comes from the fact that I was very young at the time that they came out. So, like, when Fantastic Forces and Ultimates and stuff, I'm talking like I was still 18, 19. And I was like, yeah, this is amazing! And I had nothing. I didn't know anything.
Lucky for Matt, we were able to reminisce for like 15 years worth of HeroClix history while we wait for him to come back so he can ask his question.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Chris was able to go out for a whole cigarette.
Yeah.
And we still haven't gotten to Matt's question. Oh, boy.
Back.
Matt! Matt!
Let's keep talking.
Oh, man. What else happened in the early days that was really weird?
No, actually, sorry. I just got reminded because we just got 3 new Wolverines. We have the 3 new Wolverines. Now I got to go and I got to do my photo shoot. And my pictures of like the 61 Wolverines that are in the game now, and I'm gonna post it, and there's still gonna be that one asshole that's like, well, why don't you have the 2002 Toy Fair one that doesn't count towards anything?
It doesn't exist. I think it's made up. It's made up in the Toy Fair.
One asshole has a picture of it online, and they're like, why don't you have that one?
Did you guys see the guy that had the panorama of all the Batman?
I don't want to imagine what that panorama looks like. That had to be like 8 pictures.
Well, he did a YouTube shot or whatever on panorama phone something, but I was amazed. It was wow. There were hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's about right.
I actually, a couple years back, went through HC ROMs one day and just took the most popular characters from each DC and Marvel, the top like 2 or 3 of each, and counted how many of each version, and ones that were like with Wolverine, there's also Logan and Patch and Weapon X and any other name that he's gone by. And it wasn't until like Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Hulk were kind of tied with each set. Like you could not have a Marvel set without one of those guys. And with DC, it was like DC and Superman. And you're just gonna have, and then we're just gonna have like those, each one, and then when we got to Avengers, when the not Avengers the set, when the movie, like when the cinematic universe launched, and we got the Iron Man 3 Gravity Feed set, Iron Man went from having like 40 figures in HeroClix to having like 130. Like, it was ridiculous just how many Iron Mans suddenly came out.
All right. So Mike, unfortunately, does have to leave us a little early. Does anybody have a question specifically aimed for Mike before he goes? Oh, Matt has one.
Me too.
You just have to unmute your mic.
Yeah, sorry. I had a rescue mission to do there a second ago.
Okay.
Mike, I'd asked Jason and Amber, I just wanted to ask you if you have any HeroClix superstitions. Like I heard Tom wears a shirt when he goes to competitive adventure.
He wears the same shirt every time.
He does, and you know what? He does clean the shirt, so I appreciate that. But go ahead, Mike.
Any rituals too, or whatever?
When I'm sitting and playing, I keep my dice in my hand and I rotate them profusely.
Mm-hmm.
Around and around and around and around because I think I'm gonna confuse it with my karma and then I'll roll better. No.
I'm actually doing that right now because I need to fidget.
Yeah, those dice are terrible. I have not had any luck with those dice, the new ones.
I know we
The new X-Men ones?
Those dice were hot for me, and they were hot, but they did roll 2 critical misses in a row at one point.
My best right now are the Batman dice that came with the dice and token packs. Yeah. Other than that, superstitions. I don't know, not really. I do kind of, even though I'm a man of science, I do kind of believe that, in some form of karma or something therein. And so, when I'm not playing in high meta, it's okay for other people to win. And, it all comes around. It's not a huge deal. That's kind of how I feel about it. It'll come back to me in spades. I don't know if that really answers your question, but I don't wear shirts I wear shirts to play in, but I don't wear a specific sweaty old T-shirt, and I don't not cut my beard for an extended period of time because I think it's going to make me into some kind of grand wizard. And what else? I don't know. I don't sleep the night before because I just can't.
I used to do that. I got out of that habit.
Yeah. No, it's not
really
really a habit for me. It's that Drake comes in at 4 in the morning and goes, "Hey guys, so I was just at the bar, and I just wanted to let you know that math is the be-all and end-all. And so really, if you get 2 2s, it makes a 4." I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, girls. I'm like, what constitutes a 2? Like, seriously.
Well, Mike, on the plus side, the hotel room for Nationals this year, 3 parents, Mike White and yourself, we all love to sleep. So I think you'll get a good night's sleep before Nationals.
Very full hotel room. I'm going to knock on Matt. I'm going to knock on Matt's door.
To punch someone.
No. It wasn't a punch. It was a slap.
That was the best. That was amazing. I was trying so hard to sleep, too. You guys were being jerks.
Yes, I know. Mike tackled you and punched me in the uterus in the process.
I did. I totally did. I totally punched you in the baby maker.
A wrestling match is required if you're sharing a hotel room before a major tournament.
Well, my back is sore, Jason, so I need you to fix it again.
All right. I'll stretch you out again, son.
Yeah. Jason used to wrestle in high school for real, so he's a better fighter than me.
Mike, before you go, just wanted to say I definitely understand what you mean. You say that you can't win them all, and you about not having superstitions. I think when I go into a match feeling like I have to win, I play worse. And I'm not saying I necessarily lose that match, but I definitely play better when I don't feel like I have to win. So I can definitely understand what you mean when you say that. But as far as having you on the show and my frustration at not having Tom on the show and my sadness at missing him, it would have been equally the same for you. I have the utmost respect for you and everything you've done. The pregame shows are awesome. Keep it up. I know we hadn't had one in a couple of weeks, and that's cool, man. That's completely understand. Real life gets in the way far too often.
It does.
But I really enjoy y'all's matches. One suggestion, if I could throw it in there, I think it would be cool if maybe you guys took maybe the last the last ROC that happened, maybe the top two teams, if you had the figures, and you guys play those two teams against each other.
We generally do have the figures, luckily.
Yeah,
so
well,
it's a good suggestion. You actually suggested it to me via Facebook message a little while ago too, it's a good idea. We're not going to be doing the pre-show until after we're finished with nationals.
Sure.
But yeah, after that point, we could definitely take that into account. Usually, what we do is we think of silly old themes that we think could be half broken or not, or what have you, or we'll have a theme, and then just play each other. But yeah, no, those are good suggestions for sure. And thank you for the compliment as well.
Absolutely, man. You're awesome, and good night. Good to talk to you. Good to meet you.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right.
All right.
Sleep well, not Tom.
Oh my God, I painted all day today, so I am totally annihilated at this point. Anyway, great to be on here. I'm glad that I could participate in the Patron Hangout, and love you guys. And I'll see you later.
Bye, Mike.
All right.
Bye, Mike. Nice talking to you.
You too, man.
All right. So next up, Matt, now that you're back from your rescue mission and asked Mike his direct question before he went, did you have another question or like another question for the panel?
I sort of have a very specific rules type question. Because like I've told you before, when I'm playing, I wish I had a bat signal for Amber to come and help me often, because the rules. What more can you say? But I'm still confused about what constitutes blocking terrain, walls, and block. I understand a square blocking terrain is blocking terrain. Juggernaut's improved movement moves through blocking terrain and destroys it as he moves through it. Can he go through walls? That's my question. It's very specific.
This is actually interestingly enough, something that gets asked all the time is that walls are blocking terrain. They absolutely, completely are blocking terrain and follow every single rule of blocking terrain. The only time that they are different from other blocking terrain is when you have a power, say like Trinity War Wonder Woman, who destroys blocking terrain and turns it into objects. She is looking specifically for squares of blocking terrain. When you're looking for a square of blocking terrain, you're going to be looking for something with an actual brown border, or something like a barrier that is an actual square of blocking terrain on the map, where walls themselves are blocking terrain but will not be affected by a game effect that is looking for a square of blocking terrain. But anytime you have an effect that just says blocking terrain, walls will count. The only other type of blocking terrain is the difference between indoor blocking terrain and outdoor blocking terrain. That can be either squares of blocking terrain or walls, and that only comes into effect whether there are certain improved movements that are only outdoor blocking terrain or indoor blocking terrain, and it's mostly only effective when you have blocking indoors and flyers or people with improved movement that you can't fly over indoor blocking terrain.
Right.
So that's really only the difference between the indoor and the outdoor. But yeah, so when you're looking at walls themselves, they're going to follow every single rule of blocking terrain. They are blocking terrain. So like you said with the Juggernaut, who moves through blocking terrain and destroys it as he goes through, walls absolutely will count.
I watched your video on this. I know you've addressed it specifically in a Dial It Up, and it seems so clear to me when you explain it, but when I'm sitting with a player and I'm trying to say, no, walls like blocking terrain and we can destroy it or go through it or whatever the case. No, walls are walls. They block line of fire, but they're walls. They're completely different from blocking terrain, is the answer I most often hear. And I don't argue, I'm mostly playing casual anyway, but it sort of, that's what I hear most often when I'm playing. And I don't know if it's they were different in the past, or it's just a general lack of understanding, or what, but it's a difficult thing I've faced a lot lately.
Go ahead.
I think because with HeroClix itself, everything is so dependent on words and how specific words are that because walls have a name, or walls, that people try to think that there's something different.
Right.
I will try and message you and give you an actual page number, but if you can look it up in the rule book, there is actually a section on walls, and like almost the first sentence under walls is walls are blocking terrain. And like that should be the only thing you need when you need to like cite that for somebody else, even in casual or venue play, is just whip out the actual rule book and like, look, walls are blocking terrain. There you go. And you don't need to say anything beyond that because it's directly from the actual rule book. That isn't one that you have to go hunting through the rules forum or the old player's guide or go off of an email that is somehow lost and buried in HC Realms. That is something that is actually directly from the rulebook.
I'm going to work on that then, because that escapes me for some reason, the line in the book. But I've been going off a 2012 book too, so maybe it's my fault.
That's right. And you know what? I actually caught myself just reading and rereading the rulebook every now and then when I get a chance or when someone asks me a rules question. And there will be a sentence that I'll like, oh, right, that's how that works. Like, even I'm constantly reminding myself of how certain rules book work. Sorry. And like I said, it's very easy to have, like, in a rule book that's 30 pages, to have one sentence that you just overlook it, especially when you're in there looking for line of fire and not terrain, then it's just, there's so many different ways to look at things that something like that, just one single sentence, can often get overlooked.
Thanks.
So before we get back to the rotation, we do have a question through messaging from one of our patrons, Nathaniel White. Speaking of maps, the School Krakoa map, do you think it's going to be a meta map? I use those attacks from Krakoa quite effectively to help my close combat team, neuter, or ranged team. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's got a place in the meta. But it's not what the old Krakoa was, that's for sure. You can dodge it by simply hitting. Just make sure you hit, or switch to a close combat strategy. Be sure your team can modify itself to a close combat strategy, because it can come out of nowhere. So you do kind of have to have some trust in your hits. But ultimately, it's a map you can play around. It's a fun map, don't get me wrong, because I was playing against Amber in one game, and I was just like, okay, I need to make sure I hit, because I am crossing, hindering, and I don't want to get hit by the map. So unlike the old Krakoa, where it's just if you roll a number, things happen, this one is, the situation is in your control, but out of your control at the same time. So... ultimately, Nathaniel, Krakoa's going to be in the meta, and like you said, you had a close combat team, you get ready to punish some range teams, especially if you can set yourself up to be really hard to hit at range through hindering terrain, or etc. So, yeah, Krakoa's got its place out there, and it's definitely on my stack of maps to bring.
I also think it'll benefit Krakoa, like Jason was saying, unlike the original Krakoa, you have to... But this is for most maps nowadays. You have to really garner it to your team. Like, it's not going to be a map that everybody's going to play, but if it works for your team, absolutely. What actually comes to mind for me is a lot of stealthy characters, because the rules itself for the Krakoa is whether or not, like, if an opposing character draws line of fire through blocking or hindering terrain and misses an attack, at the end of that turn, you can make an attack as Krakoa targeting that character. So if you have characters that are going to be sitting in hindering for stealth bonuses, that'll help you against characters that are like, okay, well, I can see through your stealth, but do you really want to do that? Yeah. Because you're guaranteed to be passing that hindering, and if you hit, you hit, but if you miss, Krakoa is going to get a little angry with you. The only thing I found with, I played it with a very heavy close combat team, and I don't like how wide open it is. The original Krakoa had a huge elevated terrain part of it, and a fair
ton of
amount
hindering.
of blocking in between, and a lot of hindering. Like 70% of the map was just hindering terrain because of the effects of Krakoa itself. Whereas this one is the actual Xavier School grounds. So it's a lot of open terrain. There's a few blocking squares. There's only a few hindering, really, when it comes down to a map that is affected by hindering and blocking terrain. There's not a huge amount of it. So there's not a lot of places for a close combat team to actually hide, to maneuver around on that map. And I found that even with Jason strategically placing himself and using his perplexes to make sure he wasn't missing the attacks through the hindering terrain, my characters were still really out in the open on a map like that. I don't like big open maps.
Another thing to consider as well, if your opponent is playing Colossals, it's a chance of the blocking terrain could help you to a degree. Because even though Colossals can see over outdoor blocking terrain, their line of fire is still going to cross it. Which means if you can trust your defenses, you can, well, I mean, you know, yeah, if you can trust your defenses, the Colossal will take a shot from Krakoa.
That actually might make Krakoa interesting for my team.
Yeah, so there's a thought. Even if you are using a Colossal, yeah, the blocking terrain will help you for line of fire, but it could help you if you're trusting in your defenses and it can make the misses. So yeah, that was Nathaniel's question. Thank you for your support, Nathaniel, even though you couldn't be here on the show. Next up, Mike, back around to the top.
Alrighty, just to call back to a previous question, Matt. We were asking for superstitions or whatever like that. Back in the War of Light days, if I were running a Lantern theme team like that, I had to recite the oath right before the game. So.
That's awesome.
I only ever did that for the Orange Lantern one because it and the Green Lantern ones are the only ones I know off by heart. What's mine is mine, it's mine is mine, it's mine is mine, not yours.
I know the Star Sapphires.
But that never really came up because
No.
the packs were terrible,
Yeah.
except for Guy Gardner, but he never pulled them. Anyway.
All right, so all right, let's move on to like the TAs, I guess, prevalent in the most recent X-Men set, and I wanted to get your opinion on what's I want to say not better, but like what your favorite is, or what do you think is the most useful in the game between the X-Men TA or the Brotherhood of Mutants TA?
The best answer I can give you is which figure is it on? Because if that Brotherhood team ability is on a Freedom Force character, oh boy, am I going to have some fun with your positioning. As a good example of this, Mystique is, what, she's 60 points? She has sidestep, 7 movement, the Brotherhood team ability, and the Freedom Force ability. Now, what that means is that 60 points is taking up a move action that doesn't take one of my actions, which is fantastic. She ignores characters for movement, which means she's super mobile. And then when she gets to a guy, she knocks him back.
Oh, shit!
I'm sorry, Nick Fury. Was that hindering terrain what you needed to not get hit? Well, you're out of there now. Oh, that hindering terrain's awfully close to a cliff, Nick Fury. Oh, take a damage while you're down there. There's a lot of fun you can have with that Freedom Force team ability. Now, that's not to take away from how useful the X-Men team ability is, because one of the things the X-Men does definitely have going for it is, as a team, you can build them so well, so balanced, that you will often have times where a figure isn't going to fit into the battle, but that's okay. They just became a healer. You know, you're about to get into a ranged war. Wolverine's sitting in the back. He's healing. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Chris. Nonsense can occur with the Freedom Force. So both team abilities are really good. But if it was to be overall useful, X-Men is definitely the most overall useful as long as you have other X-Men. Brotherhood is useful so long as you don't want that character taking up your actions with move actions. Does Vanisher have Brotherhood? I don't think he does. If Vanisher had Brotherhood, he'd be broken. Who am I kidding? But yeah, the more likely you are to move the character, and the lower points they are, the more benefit that team ability definitely gives you out of that character. So Mystique is definitely high priority on that one. Don't ever discount what you can do with Stonewall if you have a small movement area. He's got 6 movement, which isn't the best, but it also isn't bad. But if you want to base somebody, but you don't want to base the other guy, you can push the other guy away. Now Stonewall is stuck with this other guy, so you can get somebody else in the position. That's another thing you can do. I mean, Freedom Force with the Brotherhood is just nonsense. Bandit sure does have the Brotherhood team ability. He's busted. So.
Also, as Jason's talking about Stonewall and bottlenecks, when you're playing on the Hell House map from Deadpool, don't stop in the doorway. Don't.
Why not?
That's where Stonewall stopped me with his plasticity. And then double riptides. Pulse wave almost to death. Well, I was stuck.
Yeah. So, both have their uses. Universally useful, X-Men. Actually, Brotherhood kind of is more universally useful because it's always happening. X-Men needs at least 2 X-Men to work, but it is good. So if you do have the 2 X-Men, X-Men's great. If you have the Brotherhood, whoever that character is on, as long if you want their movements to not matter, is so strong. I mean, and that's given what's in Uncanny X-Men alone. In the past, there's a lot of figures. It's just like Brotherhood's not going to do you any good. It's just there for the fact that you're a Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. I mean, they used to do that. And it's like, it makes sense on this character, but I'm paying for it. X-Men team ability, in that case, just becomes better.
So, dial it up 16, 17, and 18.
Yeah.
I went over all the team abilities. And I have to eat my words a little bit because I talked about Brotherhood and JLA and Avengers being useless team abilities that needed an update. And instead of updating the team abilities, they changed the way the game works.
Now, I want to point out, the face I gave Amber when she said those team abilities were worthless was this.
Because at the time, you were... teams were in the meta at the time. Teams were typically 2 to 3, sometimes 4 characters, where it was like, all right, well, I'm going to move around, and this character's still going to take an action token. Why do I care that it doesn't count towards my action total? And then they flipped the game on its head, turned it around where teams are now going to be at minimum 4 characters, up to 7. And suddenly, not having to take from your action pool makes a huge difference. Also, and a lot of people are suspecting that this is going to cause a pack update to leadership, which may not be. They're giving everybody and their cousin leadership, which means you could very plausibly have a swarm team where you're just going to get all of these extra actions or be able to take action tokens off. So suddenly these team abilities don't seem as useless as they used to be. X-Men itself is really good. It got better and nobody really noticed because unless you're more of an older veteran player, people don't notice that don't know that the team ability actually changed.
Yeah.
When the team ability first came out, it was always click for a click.
I take a damage, you heal a damage.
I heal a damage. And at around, I think it was 2013.
I think it was around GSX.
GSX? Yeah, GSX. They updated
because they made a rule for Cyclops that changed the way that
they updated team ability to give you a roll-off for the potential to actually not take that damage now, which took a good team ability and made it even better. And then we set, once again, of X-Men that actually have the X-Men team ability. On top of that, we have these all-new X-Men unique modifiers, which give the character +1 to all of their stats if they have been healed by the team ability, which on characters like Colossus or Wolverine, that's really good where you're just like, okay, well, I'll take that click. Now this little 50-point beat stick is +1 to all of his stats. All right, let's go. And there's also a 1 in 3 chance that the person that gave them health didn't take damage for doing it.
So, Yeah, X-Men is good. Brotherhood is good because of the figures it's on now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're to go back in the past and we would have this conversation at GSX or what's the other set? Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yep.
Unanimously and undeniably, it would definitely be X-Men.
Brotherhood kind of got good in Days of Future Past because they made a lot of the original Brotherhood characters, and gave them the team ability. But even those guys, at those points, it wasn't that beneficial to them.
Now we got characters that can do things with it. It's a whole new ball game. It's definitely a question that has a very different varying answer nowadays than if we were to ask me years ago, and it has nothing to do with any changes to the team ability, but more or less how they've been using it.
How the game itself has changed.
So, all right. Next up is Chris.
All right. Well, since Tom's not here, I made a chart. I'm just playing. No, you guys were talking about team abilities. He'd probably come up with some kind of chart. Explaining. I didn't realize until what you just said about how they work the team abilities into the game and how they flip the game on its head until you just said that. That was amazing, Amber. That was really awesome. So, and speaking of awesome, man, to be honest with you, I felt like shit today. We can cuss, right? I think we.
I warned people at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I felt like shit. I mean, I had to work a long shift because obviously I took a short shift yesterday so I could go see Captain America. Blah blah blah. Long story short, man, it's been fun. I definitely feel more comfortable. It was fun having Mike on the show tonight, and man, you guys are really cool. I almost feel like my donation is petty compared to the entertainment and enjoyment that you guys bring into my life. So, not to go all emotional or anything like that on you guys. I'm just telling you like it is. Now, what would you like to talk about as far as going forward in the meta, or the new meta? What's going to be the figure that you have to account for? What that you're seeing now? Like before, it was Copycat and who else am I thinking of? Copycat, Lydia Maller, right now, kind of those two. You got to count for those two, but mainly Copycat. I mean, I went crazy thinking about her. Super Scroll was one of what are some of the figures? What are we going to do about Mystique? And then how important do you think theme teams are going to be, and how many more people will play arcade? So it's one big blanket question, I guess, about going forward with the new meta.
Well, now that we don't have to think about Copycat, thank God. There are still a few figures to consider going into the game. For one, Coriander isn't going anywhere, and we're going to have to know that she's a figure that's not avoidable. And she's just a nutso figure. The more and more I look at that dial, I'm just like, are they sure this is a 100-point dial?
Right.
Nick Fury is definitely going to be a constant threat. I think we're going to be talking about him until he's gone. Although he is manageable. He is very stationary, so he can be dealt with. You just, solutions exist. You got to use them. But keep your eyes on the shifting focus Superman. Keep your eyes on that guy because he's not going anywhere. And on that note, keep your eyes on him and the round tables because there's a lot of flexibility you can pull out of that figure and that resource. I don't want to get too deep into it
Sure.
because I've come up with some things with it, but the shifting focus Superman is going to be a figure to watch as well He's on that same bar as Coriander. Is like, this is really only 90 points because if you look at him linearly, each individual Superman seems like crap. But as a pool of 4, this is literally a figure that can do everything.
Right.
And nothing is slowing down his free actions when the meta shows up, unless there's a Black Panther targeting him.
Sure.
So.
Black Panther has free action shutdown.
Yeah, but specifically to a figure.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well,
Civil War started what?
My only loss in Swiss was to a team that had that figure on it, and or excuse me, the 2 teams that played for the number 1 and number 2 team was 90-point Superman, 90-point Superman, 90-point Superman, and the 85-point Batman and Atomica. Right? And then he went up against the team that beat me during Swiss. Okay, that's what I was going to say, which was Double Clarion and Mary Marvel, which is another one we're going to have to watch out for, obviously.
Yeah, Clarion is a figure that's not... Clarion is the new Scarlet Witch. From back in the day when we had the Avengers or the Chaos Force starter. That Scarlet Witch is manifest now as Clarion, but Clarion takes that package and says, oh, by the way, eat some Blades, Claws, and Fangs, and some 7-range Psychic Blasts as well.
Well, yeah. Well, he wiped me pretty bad. I mean, Doc Ock went over there, and I might have hit one attack. I mean, I might have killed a Teakle if I was lucky. And then, luckily, I didn't play Michael Smith, who was playing the triple Superman team with Batman and Atomica. I think that's right on the points there for Rock Limited. That is, and the film particles that he was having Batman pick up. On his first turn to make him tiny. I had no answer for that team anyway. Not with the My Octopus team. I mean, we want to go over there and flurry, and it's over.
Yeah, and I did say watch for Superman. I didn't say watch for one Superman.
Sure.
Yeah, he works in packs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beware of packs of Supermen.
Yeah.
They are a thing.
Yeah. So how do we plan for him? Lots of perplex. I mean.
Perplex, Problem, Pulse Wave, the 3 Ps. But another thing to think about with that character is that dial is fat.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is it fat?
To take him down.
You gotta work your butt off to get him down. And I think he's like an 8-click dial, 7-8-click dial for 90 points.
He's not gonna have to worry about the free actions anymore.
Yeah.
Unless somebody's playing 3 Black Panthers, which probably ain't gonna happen.
No.
So, you definitely bring up a very good point. That's something we're gonna have to work on.
Yeah. And if somebody finds a way to add TK to that team, bye Nick Fury. meet the heavy object carried by the wall carrying Superman, who just took damage down to your last click, backed up by a psychic blast to finish you off.
Right.
So.
Well, it's been fun. I don't know how much longer do we run?
Until you guys are out of questions.
Oh, really? I gotcha. Well, how do you think my team would have fared on if I had went to the ROC that we saw the results for in Alabama? The Midnight Sun, Doctor Strange, Eclipso, Chase question at its lower point value, so he starts out with stealth and charge and precision strike and smoke cloud and all that, and possessed by Ophidian, so he can take hypersonic speed. So I can take away improved movement. I have the spotlight, 2 ID cards, 3 constructs, no TK, but got barrier, I got the +1 combat values for. I'm just curious. Is that a strong team to you, or is it just not enough attackers?
It comes down. Actually, the team that won. It comes down to one big question. If you see Eva, how tempted are you to attack it?
I wouldn't attack. I mean, I'm not gonna hit Eva because again, and then you got to. How many walls can I put up to make it to where he can't place his colossals? And I think a lot of it comes down to map roll.
That's what I was gonna say is that game will really legitimately come down to who is the map roll, because if they can get an outdoor map, you can put up as many walls as you want. Those colossals are gonna be able to hit you.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, we've definitely entered that era of HeroClix. The retaliation era, huh?
Yeah. Now, at the same time, that the team that won is on a ticking time bomb. Come June, that Fandomax, boom, gone. Bill, gone. Like, that team is just gone. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Like, so for Worlds, that team's not going to be a thing. And like, you know, come the end of June, I mean, the next major tournament coming up, Canadian Nationals, is the next one that I can think of. Oh, but there is that weekend of WKO Part 2s.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. But another thing to think about, and I keep forgetting to mention this, is Faust still exists in the WizKids meta.
Yeah, he's banned for Rock, but not for WizKids.
So, the Rock, okay, not an issue. But when you get into Worlds, can somebody break Faust still?
He's mystical, yes.
I mean,
the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Shazam. I mean, you play him with Shazam, Teakle, whoever. You could. The list goes on and on. Green Lantern, Spectre. That's going to be the winning team.
Rocket Raccoon still exists in Worlds.
Well, there is that too. There is that too. But just how good is that yellow power?
Well, it's not so much the yellow power on its own. That, even though it's a range of 7 squares that Faust is limited to, Faust phases, Rocket's tiny. So he can get to where he needs to go.
Sure.
He can stay back until he rolls the power he needs, and then once he enters the 7 squares, that's when your character is affected by it, right? And if you're only allowed to take one type of action, that is very limiting. You don't feel it until you're there. And because Faust is fully capable of phasing, carrying Rocket, Rocket is still able to re-roll that d20, and it's still a 50-50 chance that Faust has something that's going to completely shut you down. If not, the second roll is probably going to make up for it. So you're seeing it like a 66 to 75% chance of shutting down your opponent's team to one type of action.
Sure.
Or just to shut them down in general. So.
Right.
And it's one of the reasons the Rock is still banded, because they haven't gone to another extreme to slow down how effective he is. And a smart player can definitely still use him, and he is worth still thinking about and still worrying about if you're going to WizKids Strictly events. So if you're going to a WKO's Part 2, think about that Faust and his existence, and make sure you can have big time.
I've actually asked off for the days to make it to Origins in June. I believe everything and its mother is going to be legal during that part, including Faust. Am I wrong about that?
Oh yeah, Faust is good. Guardians of the
Okay.
Galaxy is going to be the oldest set for Origins.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go out and buy another Rocky Raccoon. I do own one. And would you play the Rocket Raccoon and break team, or would you go the mystical route? If you were me.
If I was you, I'd probably go for the more mystical route.
Mm-hmm.
And just hold the Rock. Like, you can try to hold Faust back and try to get the yellow power. Just make sure you have a little extra offense on the team. A Clarion can go a long way, as we've already discussed. But Faust can definitely add to it, or just play Mystical without Faust. I mean, here's the thing. There are a couple figures I can definitely still give Faust a gigantic issue. One of which being KC Shazam. That reach on the KC Shazam at 170 points, he'll be outside of the reach when he activates his action. Enters the field, whatever, man. I'm hitting him. I'm hitting Faust, right? And Faust doesn't have a particularly deep dial. So,
Correct.
While he's still an issue worth thinking about, he is beatable. You just have to know the tools to do it. And again, I'm not saying you must play him, but consider him when you consider the full-blown WizKids format of the event. Because the Rock gets us in this level of complacency where it's like, I don't have to worry about that figure. But then when we exit the Rock and we go into these nationals and these Worlds events, Faust is a figure that exists. Is he something you can cope with, deal with? Who's going to be piloting them? Are smart players or experienced players going to be piloting it? Are less experienced players going to be piloting it? Who knows, right?
Sure.
So,
are you guys planning on coming down for any of those, or?
The WKOs, no, because on the same weekend that those are running. The closest one is Rochester, and we're running our Win a Map event leading into RLC Provincials for that. So, unfortunately, we won't be going to that one. And then the weekend after that is Canadian Nationals. So, we'll go to that because that's about on the same level as the WKOs, if not slightly larger. I actually have to double check to see how the pricing works and see how qualification goes for Day 2 of Worlds, if that's changed at all for Nationals. So it's another thing to consider.
All right.
Yeah. But I do know myself and Tom plan on being at Origins. So, and I adulted recently. I can get across the border now because I have a passport.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome. I've only had mine for about a year and left the country once when my wife and I went to Mexico. So
I've had it for 2 weeks.
Awesome.
And it's sitting in my underwear drawer.
Nice.
So.
Well, good deal. Thank you, guys.
Mostly because at the time that Origins is happening, our eldest is still in school.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair for that close to the end of the year for her to take her out of school for a week. Not to mention trying to find a sitter for a week for all three of our kids. And then on top of that, I feel sorry for anyone who has to be anywhere near me that close to my wedding. So you probably don't. Nobody wants to see me at that point.
Plus, part of our honeymoon does involve Rock
Going
Worlds.
to Rock Worlds, so
she's not completely worrying. We're going to Rocktober at the end of our honeymoon.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to New Orleans, then we're going to Atlanta and hit Rock Worlds for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got about 12 points to go to have enough points to qualify for that. So hopefully I'll see you guys there.
I think they have grinders there too.
They do, but Mike is giving me rock points as a honeymoon or as a wedding gift. Well, he's not going to be able to make it, unfortunately. Is he? No. He's coming to Rock Worlds. I think he said he's coming to Rock Worlds. It's Origins he couldn't get because he's got a friend coming in from Brazil, unfortunately. So.
Is Tom coming?
Me and Tom are going to be the ones that go to Origins. So.
Okay, good deal.
See, the two important ones. Is Tom coming? Yes, Tom's coming.
That's okay.
Come on.
Man. Everybody loves Tom.
Tom is, in fact, the wheelman for this event.
I love all you guys equally. I just have a
just
special
Tom the most. It's
affection.
okay. I get it.
We love Tom too.
It's just because of his choice of teams, man. I love the way he builds with some out of the box ideas. The Guardians of the Galaxy was really cool, and just some of the the charts and graphs and a lot of good stuff. So
yeah.
But anyway,
me and Tom definitely have that in common. Like if I had Tom's time, definitely I'd be doing the charts and graphs for sure. And like we do have like Amber said, man. Me and Tom get into a conversation and we fix teams and we work on things and we have enough of a similar mindset too. Both of us do think out of the box too. Like I don't think enough people see enough of my builds that I actually do go to tournaments with, and I do kind of I don't play with the grain.
Hand ninjas
Dude, I can't believe how many people. I'll go to a tournament where everybody's trying hard, and I showed up with 2-hand ninjas, the prime green or the prime hobgoblin, and kingpin. Oh, this was all illegal at the time, and just wrecked faces. Because apparently the hand ninjas have precision strike, and I forgot about that. And Kingpin's enhancement gives them a slew of powers to go with that. So
yes, it does.
Nonsense ensued.
Yeah, I was going to see if he shared any keywords with the new Black Panther that has traded precision strike. I thought that might make a neat little combination right here before retirement.
Politician or ruler?
Ruler maybe. Ruler maybe. I know he does share that in common with an Ultron or 2 Ultron drones.
Yeah.
And scientist with another Ultron drone, which is really...
Yeah. So
that's great. Great keywords and great powers, but I just feel like there's something missing on that Black Panther, and I can't put my finger on it, what it is.
Is it stealth?
You can, yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
We get some babies with Black Panthers getting stealth, you know. All right.
Next.
So, and as far as theme teams are concerned, it's the same as ever. If it works for your team, yeah. If it doesn't work for your team, it's fine. Just make sure if you're not using the theme, just make sure there isn't a map that you can go, well, I lost, because if that is a thing, you need to either mitigate that somehow or build a theme team.
Yeah, I was actually that was my point on that too, where unless your team requires an ATA to function or a certain map to function, theme team in high competitive isn't as necessary as it could be. Basically the benefits, even the theme prob isn't, like, there's enough figures out there that you can throw prob onto your team without having to worry about using up an action for it. And you were mentioning about arcade that it's, I wouldn't say necessarily exactly a 50-50 split, but expect to see theme teams, expect to see non-theme teams. I still don't think that arcade offers enough to really be like, oh, arcade needs to be on my team. But if you can find a team like a local player, Emily she was dead set on arcade for a while, and she had a lot of really good arcade teams that worked. So if you can fit him into your team, and if he just works for your team, then by all means, go for it. But I don't think
make sure he works both ways.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see him like as prevalent as we know we're gonna see Nick Fury. We're gonna probably see Proteus show up. We're gonna see Iceman show up. Like, these are figures that we know will show up in some capacity, whereas just something more of a fringe case of arcade, if he's gonna show up, it's gonna be on a team that needs him to work.
Yeah. All right. So next up.
Thanks, guys. By the way, thanks.
Hey, no problem. No problemo. Matt.
Yep. So, on a side note, tomorrow's Free Comic Book Day.
Yes,
or
it is.
Perhaps in 3 minutes today is Free Comic Book Day, which is a little bit like Second Christmas. So do you guys have anything special planned for Free Comic Book Day? Or is it just another day?
Oh, yeah. So we're going to wake up with the kids.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the comic store that's within walking distance of us. We're going to go pick up our free comics, buy some stuff at the comic book store. I'm going to meet our friend Aiden. He's going to pick up his free comic books at the store. We're going to hang out, maybe grab some breakfast, maybe grab some coffee, whatever. Then we're going to go to the Comic Warehouse where we have a seal tournament for Uncanny X-Men. And if you're watching this and planning on going to the Comic Warehouse, by the way, it's Free Comic Book Day. We're stuck upstairs. Deal with it. The upstairs is... We had to do one big tournament up there once. It's not the most comfortable situation, but it's a workable situation. They have the space. They use the space. It's okay. I'm more or less excited to get more Uncanny X-Men sealed practice because, yes, I did win the first one I played with, but it was with an Iceman. That doesn't feel fair. And I feel like I'm getting some bad data like I was getting with World's Finest, where it's like, well, here's a Ms. Yermala. Okay. Here's a Ms. Yarmella. Stop it. Here's a Ms. Yarmella. Come on! All of my testing was packed with Ms. Yarmella, and it got to the point where I had to start skipping him, and I didn't feel like I got the right kind of practice, which really hurt me in Whippy. But of course, in Whippy, I went with Perplex over Prob. Ow! Never again. Perplex can't roll away a critical miss. That's the best reason to say Prob over Perplex, because Perplex can't stop a critical miss, and Prob can create a critical hit. Those are the best two things to think about. Go with Prob over Perplex. So in the future, that's what I'm going to do.
So on the topic of Free Comic Book Day, it has now actually become like a family tradition for us to go and take our kids out. We started with our eldest, and then the last 2 years we've brought our twins as well. This year our twins are actually old enough that they're excited to go, and they want to go pick out their comics, and so I'm really excited that they're excited. And of course our eldest is 8 now, so she's actually reading the comics herself, so she's excited to go. And I know we've mentioned it a bunch of times. For anybody that hasn't heard it, me and Jason actually met at a Free Comic Book Day.
Yep.
So this is kind of like an anniversary thing for us, whereas we don't necessarily always go out to big events for it. As long as we can go out to a Free Comic Book Day, that's kind of like our tradition of celebrating how we met.
Yeah. So we always have to spend some time together. I mean, your dad comes to it too, because your dad's a big comic book reader. So
I'm a comic book reader because my dad's a comic book reader.
Basically a family for our
family event for us.
I'm sure my parents would join in too. I mean, my mom's such a big nerd. She always asks me to grab the Canadian content that happens.
Yeah, actually, she'll be like, "Are you guys heading out to Free Comic Book Day?" She's like, "I saw this list. Get me these comics."
Yeah.
So.
Wow. I come from a family. I mean, like, both my parents are computer programmers. All right, I'm a computer programmer. We're nerds. Amber's dad is a big Superman fan. Amber's a big Superman fan. Our kids, I mean, like, it's in our blood. Let's not lie. Comic books are in the family blood, and it's bound to happen. So we're going. We're definitely excited for it, as we always are. It's kind of like Christmas in the fact that I haven't looked up what the books are this year even.
Yeah, so we get to see.
Yeah.
And also, I'll come back in a second to this, and I've been collecting the Free Comic Book Days because I found a do-it-yourself recipe of how to make paper flowers made out of comics. So my actual bouquet for my wedding is comics. So last year I collected a whole stack of Free Comic Book Day comics to turn them into flowers. This year I'm going to actually look for very specific characters to turn them into flowers. So that's another side project as to another reason why I'm excited for Free Comic Book Day. But yeah, so all excited for everything, and it'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We're excited for it. I'll be right back.
You're going to show off? She's going to show off the flowers. She's been excited about this since last year when she found that. Because, I'm an adult and she's an adult. We only need one stack of one book. We can each take turns reading the books. So one of us grabs books, the other one grabs books. So we have 2 stacks of all the books. So that gives us a whole extra stack of just cut them books for her to work with. And the other stack is the ones we keep and read. There's a couple from last year I still haven't read. So I should probably do that before we do it this week. But yeah, there she goes. She's got... What do you got? What is this?
Okay. So this is Jason's boutonniere for the wedding.
So hopefully it shows up in the camera.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys can see that properly. That is the Hulk.
Oh, nice.
Right in the center of the boutonniere for him, and you won't be able to see it in the camera, but in the actual very center of the flower, it says Hulk Smash. So each one of we have 7 groomsmen and my maid of honor, and all of them will be getting one of these.
Wow.
And then my actual bouquet itself is going to be made of these flowers. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Free Comic Book Day is helping the wedding.
Yeah, no kidding.
Helping the wedding.
You have no idea the can of worms you just opened.
Well, I'm going to be going from place to place tomorrow. Even our library nearby gives out comics. So
Really?
I hit about four stops at least. And
Cool.
yeah, it's like it's crazy. It's the best day you could ever have. I mean, if you got in a time machine and told 10-year-old Matthew about what the future held, movies and free comic book day and hero clicks, I mean, you wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Yeah. I can't even imagine how 10-year-old you would be like, wait, free comics? I remember our first comic convention. It was like a guy selling comics for a quarter. I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
But $3?
We actually have a really, really cute story about that. Our daughter's first free comic book day that we, when we settled into the neighborhood, we found the comic book store that was only like 20-minute walk from our house. We took her up, and at the time she was 2 or 3. She was just learning about purchasing things and buying things, and so whenever we went to the grocery store and she wanted a treat or whatever, I made sure that she put her treat up on the belt and had to pay for it. So at the time, like, there was no concept of free, because we always really ingrained into her that she had to pay for everything that she wanted. So when we went to our very first free comic book day as parents with her, she went around the tables, found the comic book that she wanted, and then went straight to the front counter, put it on the counter to pay for it. And she was just, it was so adorable, and like, there was just this collective awe in the store when she did that, and then we had to try and explain to this poor confused little toddler that that one was free and she didn't have to pay for it. And she's like, but I put it on the counter.
And now it's yours.
Now it's yours, you can take it. Oh, it was too cute. It was so adorable.
I think that was one of the guys that run the comic store we go to regularly fell in love with
That's
Alexis.
when they fell in love with our kids.
Yeah.
It was so adorable.
Yeah.
So follow-up question with that. I think I read through my Facebook thing that WizKids was doing a free giveaway for the Dice Masters, but are they doing anything with HeroClix for tomorrow?
It doesn't sound like they did anything new this year. I had heard a rumor that they re-released the Batman Joker starter, which grossed. Those are purple rings. They should have re-released the Iron Man Captain America starter.
The, Superman Lex Luthor that they used during their
still gross because they're purple rings.
I don't know if you guys remember, they did like a string or 3 or 4 of how to play HeroClix videos on their actual their own YouTube, which were good videos, but it was just they didn't go any further with it, and they used that Superman and the Lex. So we've heard the Batman Joker, we heard Superman Lex. We haven't heard anything new. So
if you were to ask me, I say just re-release that Iron Man Captain America starter.
Our store still has that in stock.
Yeah, because lo and behold, it's Civil War, right?
Yeah, it's got the interest, and it was actually, those 2 were tournament legal because they weren't purple ringed. So.
And ultimately, if you are a Dice Masters fan, it is an Adam West picture on the same 5-cost Batman from the most world's finest set. So, I mean, it's the character. What the character does on that card is nothing new. It's just the same card with Adam West's face on it. And I believe WizKids is sending them out with a suggestion that you only give them to people who buy Dice Masters starters. Personally, I'm kind of I played Dice Masters for a while. I played for a while, had a stall. Got really into it again. I'm kind of at that point where I just want to really focus on HeroClix and casual Magic. So that's really where I'm going to go with it, because I just, between the channel and trying to keep, like, every Dice Master set is monumental compared to HeroClix. Like HeroClix, we get 66 figures,
and they come out so frequently.
Yeah, it's like every month now.
Each set comes with a new starter set that you actually have to get, because that's the only way to get the basic actions, which is really, what would be the equivalent, like,
of a basic action dice?
Yeah, like something actually essential to the game mechanics itself. But actually, to go back on the free comic book day stuff is that between the Adam West Dice Master cards and the Batman jumping or surfboarding a shark, I'm really hoping that sometime in the future we're going to see a second Batman 66 set, because that set is still my favorite. I actually, the two sets that came out, they weren't the same year, but like really close together. The Batman 66 and Days of Future Past, those were two micro sets where now that they've gone golden, I've kept them all. I want to just keep, I've collected those whole sets because both of them were just so amazing. The Batman 66 got rid of the Batmans and the Bruce Wayne and they weren't good, but all of the villains were amazing, and I want more of that.
Yeah. So.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's all I wanted to say on that.
Yeah. So hopefully Wiz can start coming up with some new ideas for pre-comic book day for HeroClix. But right now it seems like because Dice Masters has hit that point where it's competing in the top 5 of games better than HeroClix is, because it's Magic by a gosh darn long shot number 1. I've only seen Magic dethroned for a short period of time by Versus many years ago. Then up there is Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon fighting whenever a new set comes out. Then it's Dice Masters, then it's HeroClix. And it's Dice Masters by a massive margin. Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Are fighting, and then Dice Masters is starting to compete with those games.
Yeah. It's huge. Like, it's just, it's absolutely exploded.
And like, from WizKid's point of view, it's cards.
Yeah, and I'm sure it costs them, and also what is it that they claim they are the biggest dice manufacturer?
Biggest dice manufacturer in North America, yeah.
Yeah, that like that's just huge. That alone, considering all they make are like these dice and specific dice like beyond Dice Masters, you can't use those dice for anything else. Like they are specifically to the game, so the fact that they can say that they're the biggest distributor or maker of dice in the U.S. is actually just showing just how much of those dice they make for these sets.
Although, I mean, if I step on another one of the goddamn things.
Much like our commons, uncommons, and rares of HeroClix, we had a bin of extra Dice Masters that the twins got into and are everywhere.
They're
they
not
actually
everywhere
have. No, they have they have a transport truck full of Dice Masters. Because this is how our nerdy little children play.
This is our life.
This is what happens when two nerds breed more nerds.
Nerds breeding is danger. Oh, all right. Chris?
All right. Well, since I have to work in the morning, I just wanted to say good night. Thank you guys again for everything. I will finish off with a small question as I sign off. Adios to you guys also. I like the outfit. Happy Cinco de Mayo. But I was just going to ask you your favorites from the new set. Like, just if you didn't mention them on the Meta Lab, I'd also like to hear Amber's, maybe just your favorite Prime, your favorite Super Rare, your favorite case. And I'll sign off for the night. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris.
Take care, Chris.
So what do you like from UXM so far?
I haven't got to play with a lot of it, but I love the Common Wolverine. It's interesting because back in like GSX and Incredible Hulk and Wolverine and the X-Men, they actually have used that whole heal one click at the end of your turn, or heal one click when you clear tokens. And on those figures, because they were over 100 points, it was like, But the new one that has that trait is only like 50 or 60 points.
50.
50 points, which a trait like that on a 50-point character who is like 7 clicks long is huge. And it makes a huge difference and a big impact versus what we were seeing in previous sets. And even though we've seen this trait before, this one really stood out for me because when I was playing him in the pre-release, it was like, oh no, he's taking damage, but he's not dead yet. I'm going to go dance around in the background for a bit, and in 2 of the 3 games, I healed him back up to his starting click, just by dancing him around and clearing tokens in between turns while the rest of my team did stuff. And to be able to put him in the background and then bring him back at full force, because he's only, like, he's a pretty short dial, but that trait just shines so much more on a lower point figure than it did on, there was just this time for like 5 years where they just decided that Wolverine needed to be over 100 points. And it's just useless. He's not a 100-point plus character, except for the Days of Future Past Colonel Logan, who still is too many points, but he's amazing for what he does, and it kind of makes sense. I don't know the actual rarity slots. The rare Sabretooth, I have yet to play with him, but not uncommon. The Marauders one. The Marauders Sabretooth, I have yet to play with him, but I want to play with him so bad because of that Massacre trait. And he just, that is a figure where I will do that, where I will TK him into a mob of characters, wreck house, and just don't care if he dies next turn because I have done my damage. I did what I wanted to do with him.
Job's done.
And, okay, so in the rare slot, I think he's a rare. Maybe he's an uncommon. It actually physically hurts me to say this. There's a long story behind this that I won't
Is this
get
the
into.
I mean one? Uncommon.
I really, really like the uncommon Cyclops. And that hurts me to say that because I fucking hate Cyclops as a character. Like, you don't understand the absolute rage I have as this person as a character. I hate him so much.
It's only because you're a Wolverine fan. Only because you're a Wolverine fan.
But that figure is just so good. I haven't even gotten a chance to actually activate his swiping I-beam. But even, like, his dial is great. What he can do is great. He takes a hit and he still keeps going. And even though he died, like, all 3 games that I played him in the pre-release, he did what he needed to do, and he did it well. And, like, he just powered through those games. Proteus is... Ooh, Proteus. I'm excited that they gave him Exiles instead of Weapon X, because every time that they've brought in a bad guy from the Exiles series, they gave him Weapon X, which characters... It doesn't make sense to go on certain characters, but they gave it to them anyways. So I'm happy to see he's got Exiles instead. But then, you know, we don't have any of else Exiles, but you guys have already heard that rant. For the chases, like, I can't wait to fast that special. For people that followed our Twitter, I put up a picture of our Colossus and our Weapon X doing the fastball special.
The slot works.
It works, and it looks amazing. And actually, one of the head marketing guys for WizKids,
Scott D'Agostino.
yeah, he's on my Facebook, and when I put that up, he was like, yay, somebody put it up. I've been waiting the whole time for somebody to put up this picture. So I'm excited to get to play those. The other chases, like, I want the Sabretooth for who he is, and him and Wild Child seems awesome, and I want to play them. I don't really care about any of the other chases, even though, like, they seem really cool to play. They're functional. Jason wants the Sugar Man really badly. I couldn't really care about them. Iceman looks really cool. I know he does a lot of really amazing things, but he's just not my playstyle. I have to try him out to see how I feel about him, but initially it was like, I can see that he's going to be competitive, that he can be a really cool character, but when it comes to my own personal preferences on characters, that's just not one that I would automatically go to.
It's me. Oh, no.
Sorry, is it my turn now?
I guess so. I kind of ran out of people to, like,
Sorry.
fanboy about.
Common slot, I'm in love with Stonewall. Just I am in love with that character. I can't believe he's 70 points. That's all I gotta say about that. I like a character. Stonewall is a character I've always kind of wanted. A character I can put in the middle of things, distract the hell out of my opponent, and just kind of set up around while my opponent is dealing with this crap. I'm just boom. Yeah, Stonewall is definitely a favorite of mine in the common slot. In the uncommon slot, what really stood out to me, I can't believe the output on a brood, to be honest. They're really cool.
Oh, the broods.
But if I was to pick an uncommon, no, I haven't spent a lot of time looking at that slot at all, just as far as characters are concerned. I wouldn't mind trying that 115-point Wolverine, who just seems to refuse to die.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we'll die later. Maybe not. I'll figure it out on my own. Although you know what? I'm just gonna quickly open up HC Realms here and see, because honestly, I don't want to go in here and realize that there's an uncommon I just completely overlooked that I really like, and Super Saber. Duh. Force Blast and Hypersonic. That's a good disruption piece. Yeah.
That is nice.
Because a lot of people always ask me during the pre-release is like, can I use his Freedom Force Force Blast with his Hypersonic? No. Can I use his Force Blast with Hypersonic? No. But you can, and I just keep wanting to tell him, like, but you can use a secondary effect. You're not asking the right question.
Yeah. Like,
because
I can't tell you how to play your figure.
Never forget the secondary effect of Force Blast. Your attacks cause knockback. So, and of course,
I always forget that.
Yeah, and of course,
Always.
Super Saber is a Freedom Force, so it's a 13 movement character that if you really need to get somebody off of a cliff, it's like.
That it's funny you say that, because I pulled Malice in the pre-release, and it's kind of the ongoing joke when you sit there and you need telekinesis and you can't roll that 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
But if you roll a 3 or a 4, she's got Force Blast. So if you charge and she hits, you can choose to knock back.
That's right.
So yeah, that's really cool.
The often forgotten portion of Force Blast. It's probably the most forgotten portion of Force Blast. And
Hey, Amber, what about the Sunfire chase? He seems really good for board control. I don't know. How do you feel about him?
Sunfire chase that I was like, oh, is this a trace? Oh my god, Omega Red! I honestly haven't even looked at him. Like, we pulled him and haven't even had a chance to look at him yet.
Okay, yeah.
I got too distracted by the fact that I caught him in a booster with Omega Red.
Yeah, I honestly pulled him and didn't realize it was a chase either, because with the bases the same.
Yeah, they didn't do anything special for the chases this time around, and I found that the tab on it didn't look as, I don't know, maybe it was just the lighting in our kitchen, but it didn't really look as gold or like as bronze as it normally does. So I was just like, sure. I guess this is a chase.
Well, yeah, they let us buy a couple extra boxes because they had product left over, and we brought them home. And this was after pulling Sugar Man in the pre-release, so I didn't think I'd get another chase. I didn't think I'd get that lucky. I just didn't realize that's what it was. But yeah, as far as board control, he puts this fire token on you, and at the beginning of your next turn, you take 1 penetrating damage, and then if you don't clear, you don't get rid of the token, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. I played it against my wife. She didn't like it too much because she kept having to clear the Hulk. But anyway, I'll let you guys talk.
Actually, so the only reason why I know that, like, Sunfire from Age of Apocalypse, for the Age of Apocalypse books, I've only read a story with, like, Jean Grey and Cyclops when they, like, go into the future and they deal with Strife and he gets cloned and stuff. I don't even know if that's actually proper Age of Apocalypse, but all I've read is WebX. the story with Wolverine where he's got the cut off hand, and then by like I think it was like a 4 or 5 issue miniseries, and by like the final issue, he was like, "Oh yeah, guys, the claws are down here. I still have them," and he like his claws rip through the stump, and he's just like, "Yeah." But the only reason that I knew that like Sunfire, that like design of Sunfire is from Age of Apocalypse, is actually from X-Men Legends 2. You actually got team bonuses, so if you put Sunfire in his Age of Apocalypse costume, and like there was other characters that were Age of Apocalypse, like Sabretooth and stuff, if you put them in their Age of Apocalypse, you actually got the Age of Apocalypse team bonus. That's the only reason why I know that Sunfire is from Age of Apocalypse. Because video games.
So in the rare slot, I really like Mystique. Stands out. Super rare is definitely Iceman. And Chase is Sugarman for me. For one, because weapons, and two, that dial. Oh, man. Like, at first I looked at him and was like, this is a really weird looking character. Then I looked at that dial and I was like, wait, he does what? And then you add the weapon effects. It's like, oh wow. And that last click is pure comedy. It's like, I'm the new Despotellis.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
His Nick Fury point value, and as far as for call-in, and then scientist keyword, yeah. He makes that really makes him stand out for me.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot, guys, and I'm gonna call it a night.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for joining, and have a good night, Chris.
Bye. See you guys.
See you later, Chris. I'm going to call it a night, too, because Free Comic Book Day. So thanks very much, guys. I've really enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks in Montreal.
All right. Awesome. Hope to see you there, too.
All right.
Later, man. Mike, it's all your show, bud.
All right. I guess I covered everything I have written down here, but there was one last non-HeroClix question I want to try and ask here, if you guys don't mind. As far as I also read on my Facebook page that they're thinking about not returning Supergirl season 2, and I want to get your thoughts on that, and also with Agent Carter might not be renewed either. Like, is this the end of the era of the female rebellion, or like kind of like, there was a massive push for trying to get more females to to read comics and take interest in a lot of female-centered things like that. And now that these shows aren't getting pulled quite quickly, then like, is this the end, or is this fizzling out?
I'm not going to call it the end. Here's the thing. Peggy Carter was good first season, had a good start this season, but my understanding is the ratings toppled off towards the end of the season. It happened to us too. We got really busy this year, and we couldn't end up watching it. It could have been life in general. It's at a weird point because it's during the mid-season break where a lot of shows are just not doing anything. So a lot of people just aren't paying attention. And then other shows come on, but people are waiting for S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC, and a lot of them aren't thinking about Peggy Carter as a show. So I think that kind of had that part in it, but that's speculation. The what I do know is Supergirl costs $3 million an episode, and I almost guarantee that's Callista Flockhart's bollocks coffee order. Let's be brutally honest. So even though the show it's rated well, it's reviewed well, the big problem they have is they have to justify the cost of the show. And the goal, what they're turning around and saying is, look, we can't afford what we're paying for the show. So step one, we got to cut the budget. Step two, we've got to put it on the channel that deserves that budget. So if Supergirl is going to continue, it's going to get its budget slashed and put on the CW, which is okay. Because the CW is the channel that we have Arrow and Flash on, and which means Legends of Tomorrow, which means the creative control in that end has significantly more work that they can work with in getting that show crossing over with Arrow and Flash adding those audiences to the Supergirl show, adding Supergirl's audience to those shows. It could be a triple whammy if they can pull it off. And what I didn't realize is CBS is actually the same is a partner company with WB and owning the CW.
Mhm.
So it's really not going very far from ownership. It's just a matter of cost and placement is going to be some factors in it. I don't think the trick or the goal to getting women to read comic books is gone. Women do read comic books. More of them are reading comic books, and it's a number of factors. They got to be careful with a show like Peggy Carter's a good one versus Supergirl, because Supergirl being the derivative format, Peggy Carter kind of being its own thing. They play at getting girls to read comics in different ways. And Peggy Carter still is semi-derivative of S.H.I.E.L.D. because she's part of the initial starter group that led to S.H.I.E.L.D. eventually. So anyway, I rambled. Go.
Sorry, just also on the financial end of Supergirl is what a lot of people don't know is right now Supergirl is being filmed in the States. If the control goes over to CW's main studio is actually in Vancouver, which is up here in Canada. And considering the fact that our dollar sucks right now compared to the US dollar, they are going to save a buttload of money if they go across border. And that's why we're getting, like, you see the budgets on, like, Supernatural and Vampire Diaries, The 100, all of the
Flash,
DC
Arrow.
TV, all of those can have those ridiculous budgets because they're being made up here.
So it's not so much a ridiculous budget as it is a dollar that's going through.
And that they can buy more with what budget they do have. And if it does go forward with season 2, which I really hope it does, because I've personally really enjoyed the show. If it does go forward, and I think moving it to the CW would be a very smart move, both audience-wise as well as financially, because, like I said, moving it to the Vancouver studio will actually save them a lot of money in the long run, until our dollar catches back up. For Peggy Carter, it's one of those things where, as I've very much enjoyed season 1, I've very much enjoyed what I've seen of season 2. Personally, what I feel with that character, I love Hallie Atwell. I love that character. I love the dynamic between her and Jarvis. There's only so many stories to tell. And I feel that way about a lot of shows, and a lot of shows that I feel should have ended before they actually did. You can only do so much with a certain character. You can only go so far with a show before it falls apart. And why I think that Marvel is doing so well on Netflix also is because they're only getting these short seasons, one season at a time. It's like, we have a story to tell, here's that story. We're not putting in these filler Christmas and Thanksgiving episodes that you see with a lot of other shows because they have to bloat their seasons to get 26 episodes out of a season. Smallville had that problem where there were entire chunks of seasons you could just miss and skip over because it had this primetime national TV schedule that it had to keep with, where every year there was a Thanksgiving special and every year there was a Christmas special. And it was like, when Superman's playing Santa, honestly, who is the audience for that? But yeah, as far as these shows going for women being in mainstream and women reading comics, I think it's one of those things that is very often looked over even when I meet people in person, whereas, well, we're not the majority. We've been around for a long time. Like, women reading comics, women writing comics, women being in comics is nothing new. It's not a new thing. It's just now the mainstream general populace audience is taking a notice of it. I mean, like, oh, we got to get girls into comics. Like, we've been into comics for years. And we're doing it more on a hearsay basis, where, like, my daughter's into comics because I read comics. I was into comics because my dad read comics. You read comics because of the people around you and the community and things like Free Comic Book Day. You don't well, I'm not going to say it's not a factor. You're not necessarily going to be like, oh, I like that TV show. Let's go read a comic. from TV watchers to comic book readers, even in adaptations, say like Game of Thrones or anything like that, where it's a well-known book series that's been turned into a TV show, that's not going to guarantee that the people are going to go out and read the books. That is something that's going to happen on like a street level, where it's a community-based thing. If you want more women to read comics, want little girls to read comics, that's something that people themselves have to do at a street level and a community and a comic book level, where it's like you need your comic book store to say, hey, come read our comics, rather than what they're going to see on TV. And like I said, not to say that that isn't encouraging it, but if these two shows don't come back, it's not going to be like, oh, women don't read comics anymore.
No. Especially not with the success of Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Right? Because Jessica Jones was, I think it got higher ratings than the Daredevil. It's getting a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of the content. What female characters do we want to watch? What female characters are the ones that are doing well? Peggy Carter was great for a season, but ultimately Peggy Carter falls under that factor of it's a comic book story that isn't a comic book story.
Mm-hmm. It's not based on anything. It's
right?
in the universe world.
And they put the Marvel logo on it to
from
try to get viewers, but it's a spy show, man. And I mean, just because that's the Marvel, it's not gonna. I don't think that show has as much of an effect on comic reading or attracting comic readers as a superhero book or a superhero show like Supergirl does. But Supergirl does have to fix one thing if it's going to keep going. It's got to cool it on the melodrama.
Oh, God.
It does a little bit too much of the hard sell girl power stuff. It's like that, okay, but
and
I mean,
too much of the
you were good when you were just telling a story.
Bobber TV cliches.
Yeah.
Full warning, spoiler alert. Whatever, if you've never seen the show, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But when Wynn kissed her and she was like, no, I only like you as a friend, I wanted to reach across the screen and punch her in the face, because character development-wise, there was no reason for her not to be attracted to Wynn, but they needed that conflict between her and James Olsen.
She's shipping it.
Stupid. It was so stupid and so cliche and so TV trope that it was just like, you could have done something really awesome here, and instead you fell back on really old cliches and made the show look bad. But also what I personally find, and I think that's just the generation that I'm from and having grown up with certain things, is that having female-centric shows is great, but we're having amazing portrayals of female characters in ensemble shows. Looking at Flash, Iris is great, Caitlin is great, and they work well with the cast. For Arrow, we have Black Canary, we have White Canary, we have Nyssa, we have so many really good Felicity, so many really good and different and dynamic female characters in an ensemble cast. When you look at Legends of Tomorrow, you have Hawkgirl, you have White Canary. Whereas, like, when you get a show marketed to women, it tends to fall back on really old cliches and stuff that I just ranted about with Supergirl, where Supergirl is amazing when it does its comic book action stuff, but when it tries to cater to the female audience, that's where it fails. And that's where the ensemble shows actually do better, because they're not catering to a female audience. They're like, hey, we have some kick-ass female characters, check out our show.
Good? Done?
Yeah.
You relaxed? Okay? You happy?
I've
It's all
done
out? You're all out? Your chest looks a little light. It seems like it's all off of there.
Gone a little rad world.
Shh. Breathe. Breathe. In, out. All right.
Apparently I was passionate about this
Really?
subject.
Goddamn girls and your passion. All right. Mike, anything else you wanted to ask?
No, that was pretty much it.
All right. So on that note, thank you guys who stuck with us for watching. And I want to thank, once again, all of our patrons. So not all of them were able to stay. A lot of them have to wake up early like us to hit Free Comic Book Day. So we do appreciate all the support the patrons give us. If you want to become a patron, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks so that you can get in on the patron hangout once a month. And check out all the cool offers that we do have. We do film, we do games for you guys. We do action tokens, which will be going out once we have the next set of them. We like to send them out bi-monthly so you get 2 of them at a time. It also saves us on the postage of sending a single action token. But they do get out there. As well, we what else? We offer you some coaching sessions with me. Coaching sessions. Downloadable videos. You get early access to the videos, which in fact these guys will be getting in a couple minutes once we're done wrapping up the show.
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
You still have to do your download version of it.
Tomorrow morning, so you can set the download version. Okay. But yeah, once again, check it out. Patreon.com/MarriedWithClix. Mike is our longest running patron right now, and we do appreciate all the support he's given us so far. And probably has a little bit extra coming his way soon, probably around Christmas. But we're already starting to shop for a new camera, which is something that the patrons have been helping us save up for. So come after Nationals, we will be sitting in a Best Buy trying to figure out which camera we want. Though not in a Best Buy, probably on Best Buy's website.
Because we're antisocial like that.
Exactly. Outside of that, once again, thank you, Mike. Thank you, all the guys who were here with us. Thank you, Mike Payne, who joined us from the Metal Lab. Hopefully, soon enough, we'll have Tom join us on this for you guys to bother him. In the meantime, this is us signing off. Have a wonderful weekend and happy Free Comic Book Day, as it has been active for 40 minutes. You can.